Okay. So just as a quick introduction, I wanted to introduce myself and Annika. So for starters, I will say that I come from an Italian background and very touchy-feely and talk very fast. Also had two younger brothers, and so that need to compete for attention and get all the words out as quickly as humanly possible has been trained from a very young age. So if I'm going too fast, let me know. It's going to be a life thing that I work on, not something that I will overcome in the next 3 hours. So I will do the very best I can. So just a quick, so I'm the owner and founder of Confluence Business Solutions. Annika, my partner in crime and also my partner in life, came on almost a year ago. So she is dove in headfirst into the deep end of sales and marketing automation. And then we are newcomers to Roanoke. So it has been a goal and a dream almost since the month that we moved here to have this opportunity with Val and with the Wellnest and with all you guys that are here as a part of this group. So I want to say thank you, Val, again, for the opportunity to be of service to your practitioners and to your community. And I'm really excited for what we can offer both today and also in the future months, because this isn't the last time that you'll see us. So just as a quick introduction, so we have a lot of animals, and having the opportunity to show your animals is great. So these are two of our these are all three of our boys. This is our cat, Reggie, and our dog Rigby, and our dog Gunner, and that's our little senior dog Annie. And then we've got random farm animals, turkeys, chickens, and goats right now. And you never know, next time you see us, we may have accumulated some extras. So why not show those? And we bought a tractor. Oh, yeah. Well, our goats are apparently very picky about what they will eat. So yeah. So anyways, so moving to the country was a new and exciting experience for us. And we're absolutely loving all the things that Roanoke has to offer, including all the mountains and the hiking and all that great stuff.
You make eggs. Will you have eggs?
We do, yes. So if you want eggs, we have a side hustle. We sell eggs. There are currently 17-ish chickens living in our bathroom downstairs, and then there's 20 outside.
Well, 16 and 2 turkeys.
Yeah. They're $3 a piece at Tractor Supply. So like, it's really easy to just walk out with like handfuls of them. So, yeah. Yes, exactly. So over the next couple of months and starting today, we're going to talk a lot about what we call life cycle marketing. And so to start with, I just want to say that life cycle marketing is not a Confluence term. It's not a Keep term. It is a really common term used in the marketing world, but it means different things to different people. And so for us and the work that we're going to do together to try to create a common definition, life cycle marketing is the process of providing your ideal audience the kinds of communications and experiences that they need, want, or like as they move from prospect to customer, and then ideally to advocates and fans for your brand. So everything that we're going to do is going to focus on helping you attract new business, to close more sales, and to create raving fans for your business. And so those are the buckets that we love to really hone in and focus on. And you're going to hear that again in a couple of minutes. But before we talk about that in the positive sense, I just wanted to take a quick minute and talk a little bit about what does a typical small business customer life cycle look like. And whether you mean to have one or not, you have one. Whether you are totally embracing and loving the idea of selling, you have a customer life cycle. If you've gone from that place of having that first introduction to having your next client or your first client, you have a customer life cycle, because that's exactly what they've just gone through. Whether you were conscious about the process, whether you did it with intention or not, it exists. And the reality is that in most small businesses, and I mean most, it's a broken system. And in that place, what happens is we have gobs and gobs and gobs of waste. And I said 3 gobs because we're going to focus on 3 areas of waste just to get started. So our first area of waste is what we call lost traffic. And let me just say that this is intended to be an interactive day. So I just want to kind of lay the framework, and then we are going to dive into all that stuff that you guys focused on before you got here. So in terms of our first area of waste, lost traffic is having people come to your website and abandon, having people hear about you and not have a way to follow up with you. Having, and I know this is probably less common because it is more cost effective, but holy cow, you guys have the opportunity and privilege to do in-person business So direct mail is a reality for you. And that's an opportunity also to have lost leads. So if you don't have systems in place for where you are capturing website visitors, where you are bringing people or collecting people that have heard about you through word of mouth or through a direct response piece, that is lost waste. It's opportunities for customers totally down the tubes, right into the trash can. The next one is lost sales. So we kind of talked a little bit about this ideal customer life cycle versus the typical customer life cycle. And the thing is if you started a business, you had something that you wanted to sell, whether it's a product or a service. And so if somebody comes to you and they say, I'm ready to buy your stuff, awesome. We are ready to go, because that's what we do. We decided to start this business because we want to sell our products, our services, our wares, and so on and so forth. The problem is what happens for those people who aren't ready to buy today. So do you have a way of keeping track of? Do you have a way of providing value? Do you have a way of differentiating people either as a yes or a no? Because what most of the time people do is they say, yes, they're ready to buy and therefore they're a hot lead and they're going to be my customer, or they're not ready to buy when I want to sell and they are considered a bad lead, right into the trash can. Which brings me to one of my favorite things, and it's statistics. So right now, it is upwards of 80% of small business owners and salespeople only follow up with a prospective customer 2 times. So if they're not ready to buy, again, in your timeline, they're marked in that lost leads, bad leads, whatever, or they just kind of fall off a cliff and they never hear from you again. And so what do you think that person does when they hear from you twice, they're not ready to buy, but 3 months later, they're ready to buy? Anyone want to guess what happens to them?
They go to somebody else.
They go to somebody else. So the other area, we're going to revisit that one here in just a second, is lost customers. So again, I love statistics. 65% of people of buyers say that they will not do repeat business with a person that they've purchased from previously. 65%. Why do you think? Yep. And so the term that they, the survey was indifference. So when you buy and you don't hear from somebody again, you don't, like, literally not so much as a thank you email or a coupon or something like that. The next time they go to make that purchase again, they're going to go whatever's top of mind, whatever's in front of them. Because really what we're all about is as a buyer is finding the path to least resistance. So here you are. I'm just going to go with you because I know you, you're familiar, so on and so forth. So lost customers are their big area of waste. And it's a total bummer, because the hardest part, the most expensive part of customer buying is getting them the first time. It's easy to sell them the second time. You just have to remember to do it. So what's our alternative? So if you have this broken customer life cycle, and then we want to look at what is our potential ideal customer life cycle. And that's where what we call life cycle marketing comes in. And we talked about, or I touched on what those terms are. Let me make sure my face is out of the way. Can I just move me over there? Okay, I'll just be cut off in your future replay. So our ideal customer life cycle marketing strategy fits into 3 buckets. And we're going to call those collecting leads, converting clients, and creating fans. So in each one of those buckets, we also have 3 areas that we can focus on. So in collecting leads, and just know that I'm going through this super fast because I don't expect you to be proficient or experts in it. And next month, we're going to exclusively focus on training around the different things that go in here. So in collecting leads, it's where you target your ideal client. So you have to know who that person is, how you attract them. So what are the ways that you're creating enticing, low-threatening offers or opportunities for them to get to know you, to build know, like, and trust, to capture that information. So one of the things that we do a lot of coaching around with our clients is, everybody's heard this idea of, well, I need to offer some sort of free thing, or some sort of super low price thing. But really what it is, it's an exchange. So even if you're giving somebody a free report or a free resource or this or that, you're giving something of value to them in exchange for their name and their email. And so there is a currency exchange happening, your value for their contact information. So that's that exchange. And it's the first part of the customer buying cycle. But then we have to make sure that we're doing something to continue to get to know them. And that's where the converting clients comes in. So we want to talk about engaging them. So again, we only have those 2 emails, they're going to fall off the cliff and right into the trash can. But if we have a way to continue to nurture them, to continue to talk to them, then we have a way of helping move them along in that buying cycle at a time that's really about their pace and not our own. And then more effectively be able to close them. And then in our final area, we have the delivery. So one of the things that we have spent way too much time working on is having a seamless customer onboarding experience. So when you sign up and you work with Confluence Business Solutions, it should be quick and easy, and it shouldn't be a lot of confusion for you, and it shouldn't be a lot of manual work for us. Because if we're doing all of that stuff, then we're not out meeting new people. We're not out providing support to our clients. So we want to make that as easy of a process as possible. And then we talked about those lost customers. So we don't want them to go to other people. So we don't want to forget about them. So we're going to continue to talk to them. We're going to continue to provide value to them. We're going to continue to give them information and things of resourcefulness so that when they are ready to buy again, they don't forget about us. They don't remember, they don't have to go searching elsewhere because we're already in their inbox. We're already in their conversation. We're already in their memory. So secret sauce, kind of just already let the cat out of the bag. Follow up, follow up, follow up. So we talked about normally people send 2 emails. So we talked about 80% of all salespeople aren't following up after those 2 emails. Do you have any idea in 2022 how many touches it takes for somebody to make a purchase?
That's what I thought.
That's what it feels like, damn it.
20, yeah, it's anywhere from 15 to 20 touches. Some people say 22. So realistically today, without a system, without tools, without something working for you, how realistic is it for you to send 22 emails to one single person? Not really practical.
Not in here.
No.
You're not gonna do it in here.
No.
You have to have a system.
Yeah, I love automation. And let me tell you, that's the secret to making this stuff work is automation. And that's what we're working on today. But it is hard to, even with automation, start it and then say, I'm going to come back to it. Because once you get going on something else, it's gone. You've forgotten and you've lost that momentum. You've lost that energy. And so the reality is you want to convert that one client and, oh my God, this is going to be a great relationship. But if you don't have it set up in advance, then the likelihood of you making it through however many touches it is for them to be at the right place at the right time, to have that right feeling, that right intuitive hit, whatever you call it, it takes time. And that time can be short. It could be long. It really depends on what you're offering. It depends on the buying cycle for your kind of customers. And the more you know about them, the better you are able to serve them. And so I did put in here my little graphic. I put some telephones and some text messages because I don't want the idea to be all I have to do is passively send emails and then that closes the sale. Because ultimately building a relationship has to happen with other things besides just email, especially because we're getting upwards of 800 emails in our inboxes a day, whether you realize it or not, hundreds of emails. But the bulk of them go to your junk folder if they ever even make it that far, because your email provider is really working to help protect you from a bunch of crap that you've said long ago that you're not interested in. So one of the things that we will talk about today, and this is kind of why a business line can be really helpful or beneficial, is because it gives you the ability to have different ways of communicating with your ideal customer, with your prospect, and with your existing customers. And then also, the thing that I think also gets frequently forgotten is the value of actually picking up a phone and talking to somebody. So we have a lot of clients that have been using automation for a really long time and have gotten really comfortable with somebody just buying and them not having to do anything. And the reality is that the more you do that, the more you lose touch with the people that you're supposed to be serving. And so if you don't know them, then how do you know that your messaging is still hitting the mark? But if you're actually building true relationships with people, you'll know. So today we're going to focus on our lifecycle marketing strategy first with implementing and making it work for you. So in your apps that we did our free trials, we're going to cover some not so fun and sexy stuff. And then we are going to get into some automation today so that when you leave here, in an ideal world, if you're ready, you can launch automation today, right away, with a couple of campaigns that I put into your app. Well, and that's part of the fun thing about your, So you'll have them, but I'm not sure if you two do. So we'll have to check on that because you're using my link. So I don't know. but I didn't get a notice that you downloaded the trial. So we'll see. But I put apps in with that link so that, or automations in with that link so that you guys have an opportunity to actually build and create specifically with those things. And so as we're building this, as we're working and getting our hands dirty, I want you to be thinking about whether or not this kind of work is something that you would consider a luxury or a necessity in your business. And here's my little story. So when I first started my business, I had been working in actually this particular software it was my job. So I was the operations director for a business coach, and I had been already, very familiar with how this particular solution worked. And then I launched my business and I was like, I can't afford it. So I went and I downloaded MailChimp, which at the time was free, which at this point it's virtually not free or not free at all.
Well, it's still.
Right.
Until you have clients.
Right.
You have people signed up
And then it gets exponentially more expensive. But the reality is that I'd learned how to build a business with automation. And then when I tried to go and use a less expensive product, because all I was focused on was the money, I found that I actually couldn't do it. And what I've said was it was kind of like going from driving a sports car to driving the Flintstone mobile and having to like pedal my feet to get the vehicle to start moving. It is really hard to do that work manually. It's even harder to do undo what you know. So I would definitely say immerse yourself in this experience, because the opportunity to set yourself free of so many mundane tasks is totally accessible to you literally today. So go ahead and log in if you haven't already to your Keep app.
It's Keep with an A.
KEAP, so they changed their name a couple of years ago. And over the years, I've gotten to the point now where I can't spell keep the proper way. And when I'm saying I'm going to keep this, thing, I spell it KEAP, and then I have to go back and change it. And I refuse to let, Microsoft Office say that that's an okay word, because then it will accept it in the wrong spots. So then somebody will think I'm really uneducated. So, okay. So everybody got their free trial. I want to just take a quick break. Actually, before that, does anybody have questions about what we covered so far?
I just had a comment.
Yeah.
With what you were talking about with people not buying from you again, like I'm in direct sales, and Plexus Wellness Supplements is what I do. And I've had probably at least 5 people that I can think of off the top of my head come to me from other people because they hadn't heard from their person in 2 years of them being a consistent customer every single month for 2 years.
And that's a real bummer. That's a real loss.
And I have people who have been with me for like 3 or 4 years, and I know they're happy with their vitamins and their probiotics, but every single month I'll still check in to make sure everything's okay. Do you need anything, even though I know the answer?
Right.
And I mean, it works.
Yeah.
It keeps people.
Right. It allows people to go, okay, it's that it's just part of relationship building. Even if there's nothing new, it's just the idea of, oh, they still keep me in mind, because that's important with all the distractions we have nowadays. That personal touch is actually, the value of the personal touch has increased exponentially because of that, because of the automation and distractions and things.
And with the 20 touches, I think that's why a lot of people don't stick with direct sales, because those 20 touches, I mean, if they're in person, I mean, that could take several years before that person is ready to join you. And I think a lot of people give up before that.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I think some deals are lost because the customer has moved on by the time they're ready to purchase. But I also think some deals are lost because, like you said, our distractions. So someone reaches out, hey, I'm interested in this probiotic, and then right away you're like, okay, let's talk, let's schedule, but they're not ready. And then 3 days goes by, and like the dog needs to go to the vet, this going on, that going, and you have now forgotten about that.
Yeah, that's
So,
one of my sticky points for me with my business. Client conversion is actually not that hard for me. But some clients or not even quite clients, because they're we're going to talk about ADHD a lot, because they're dealing with that, they get distracted very easily. They forget. And not only that, I have run across people that have done discovery calls with who were afraid of accountability. And that's become something, they're afraid of accountability, they're afraid of commitment.
Yes.
So that's another
That's
thing.
huge. I mean,
It is
I
huge.
experienced that too, yeah.
So then recognizing too, like this is the nature of your audience. You may not be 20 touches. You may be a lot more touches. Your touches may also be really small sound bites,
Oh,
so
yeah,
that
they are.
quick and easy for
That's
them
why
to
we've been
digest.
building
Yep.
the social media presence, because they're gonna need, and that's why my social media manager's like, you need to do some videos, because they're gonna wanna hear from you.
Yep.
Because it's gonna feel like a personal touch to them.
Mhm. I
So
think
I've
that's a
had to
great idea.
increase that.
Yep.
So.
I'm going to hold off actually on my one piece about automations for the moment, and let's just get started on some of the stuff that is actually in our app. So did everybody get a chance to fill out their user profile?
Yes.
Raise your hand.
It's
Business profile,
done.
integrations.
I started it, yes.
Okay.
Integration.
Okay. So what email client are you using right now for your business email?
Well, the company, I don't own Plexus, but the
Yep.
company automatically does emails, but I get those emails just like a customer
Mm-hmm.
of mine would, but they're not like personal emails from me.
So when you send it, can you mark it to your people from your email?
I don't have system for that.
Well, so that's what this is for, is to do that. So if you were to send an email to a client or a prospective client, what email would you use?
Just my Gmail.
Okay. So then what we're going to do is connect your Gmail account to your Keep app. So go ahead and I will walk through with you. So at the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see a letter. So yours should be a J, right? Mine's a C.
Yes.
And then you're going to click on, don't look at the screen to do it. Look there, settings. Look at the settings. And then about halfway down, you're going to see integrations. And if you haven't done this, this is a good thing for you to do as well. And then you said you have a Gmail account?
Yes.
And do you also use that for your calendar?
Not a lot. I mean, I usually use my paper calendar more than.
Okay, so for the sake of this exercise, go ahead and sign into your Gmail account for both the calendar and the email. And when we get to talking about appointments, it will make more sense. And I'm going to try and convert you today on so many things. One of them being saying goodbye to the paper calendar. It's hard, I know. Or how about this? For the time being, duplicating the efforts.
I do both.
Yeah.
But I'm also. Yeah.
So for everyone else, do you guys do any kind of virtual meetings or like use Zoom for any meetings? Okay, did you sign into Zoom? Okay, great. All right. Anybody use Constant Contact, MailChimp, anything like that for their emails? You did, you connected to MailChimp? Yeah. Well, it pays to have people do homework ahead of time too. But you guys
I
did-
try to do the homework, but I'm like, oh.
You ran into some problems. Are you all good? Okay. So by doing that stuff ahead of time, it's going to save us some of the hassle when we get to certain points during our little training. Okay. So the other thing that I will say is that moving forward from this point forward, you're probably going to hear me say this a lot. One of the things that I love about Keep is because I really do love Keep, and I love it because it really does transform businesses, including my own. So this is not, like I said before, about I couldn't afford it. And I did it. I did it when it was 3 times as expensive as it is right now, because it was something I couldn't live without. It is the hub of what we do. Every day, this app is open all day because everything that we do runs from here. This is where we sell from. This is where we communicate from. This is where we are tracking our time. This is where we are booking appointments. All of those things, everything happens here. And that's what we're going to cover for you all, so that, so we also, I'm an Outlook user. I'm a diehard Outlook user, like since like 1997 Outlook. And so like while I may use my Outlook to collect all my emails, to look at them, I can also, but like, those are the things that I always have open, and they're just like quick, easy access all the time. So as you're going through this, be thinking about how this is something that can sort of like slide into your daily routine and become a part of how you operate all day, every day. The other thing that we will get to is there's an app for your phone. So you'll be able to also access the content that we're building, the stuff that we're putting into our business, into our app. You'll be able to also access from your phone. Okay, so to start with, when you click on the home button, you'll get this little trusty dashboard. And the thing that I love about the dashboard is that if you are using the different features and the elements of Keep, this is going to be real-time data. So when we talk about knowing whether or not you have leads that are just going into the trash can or not, if you have no mechanism of collecting leads, if you have no mechanism or way of knowing the health of your list, the size of your list, where growth is coming from, or how often or how much growth is coming into your business, then you have lost leads in your business today. But if you have a dashboard, a place where you can actually see that information in real time, then when you're trying to figure out, okay, where are the holes in my business? If I'm seeing that I've got one new lead in here and I don't have a way of actually following up with them, then now I know where I need to focus my first solution is figuring out what to do about that new lead. Who is that new lead? Where did they come from? What did they ask for? Or how did they enter my system? And are they being nurtured? Are they being loved and cared for? And are they learning about who I am? And then the other side of that is it a bot? And do I need to figure out how to fix a form somewhere so that I don't get 6 million more of these that are, a bunch of gobbledygook? Other things that this shows is it's going to show you, so it's showing me the list size of my list. It's showing me the number of people that are joining my list. It's showing me the number of new clients I have in my business. And so, as well as repeat clients. And the way that it differentiates the difference between a new client as a repeat client is if you're using the invoicing tools that are a part of the system here, anytime somebody buys something from you the first time, they're marked as a new client. But when they buy from you the second time, now we're able to track and monitor repeat business because they're using the same resources and technology. I'm able to track my quotes, invoices, and sales. So in my dashboard, and one of the features that we'll talk about in a little bit here is about our ability, if you have products that are, or services that are variable in price, so depending on, the size of something, and this might be more applicable to you, whereas like for so many sessions or for these kinds of services or whatever, where it may be more of an a la carte or sliding scale or something along those lines, you might send a quote to somebody to say, okay, this is what we discussed. And then they can push the button and say, yep, I accept that quote. So it's going to tell me in the quote column or quote widget, I've got one new quote out there, but when they accept it, then it becomes an invoice. And now that number went from the 0 over to total dollars due. So when they say they accept the quote, now they owe us money. They owe us $100. Oh, I have a liberal arts degree and I don't do math. So we're going to stick with really simple numbers. So that way I look less like an idiot.
I got you. I have a business degree.
Great. So now my $100 quote became a $100 invoice, and now they can push a button again and that invoice can get paid and it gets marked as completed sale, and they either fit into that new client or repeat client business. So all of these different widgets kind of flow together. Yes, ma'am.
For someone like Jackie, who's got a system, like, another system she's working through for sales, like products.
Mhm.
Is there any way for her to manipulate how people move? Like, can she move them physically? Or would that be more like, as far as like marketing, would that be more of a automation she would make in a different way?
Yeah. So we would use tags for you, and there's all kinds of fun magic that we can do behind the scenes, especially if you get email notifications when somebody's purchased something and they belong to you. So like, I'm really like pulling my hair out right now because I only got your notification. So when you guys filled out your free trial, I should know, and I should be in your app, but I'm not right now. So weird things. But when you get those emails, we can actually parse data from there. And then we can use some other technology that allows you to keep track of new customers, repeat customers, lapsed customers, those kinds of things. And so at the moment, the dashboard is going to be really fixed towards these things, but moving forward, this dashboard is going to involve or give you the opportunity to add different kinds of custom widgets, including things like, I want to show reporting based on tags, where we can sort of replicate that process.
Yeah, I have a whole dashboard, that Plexus gives me on, different customer categories and all the names, the email, the, ID number, and all that type of stuff. So.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so if I'm more like a networker and I'm networking with people, like Facebook and things like that. I just keep my contacts. I don't have a business or my own personal website.
Well, and we're actually going to do that next. So hold that question.
And he doesn't need a separate website with this.
No, you could actually use your Keep app for your website.
Okay.
And I'll show you what that means, but just keep your expectations realistic to what that looks like. And I'll show you what I mean here when we get to landing pages.
Okay.
So there was something else I was going to say about tags and business, and it's going to come back to me.
Like pulling stuff from
The
dashboard
emails.
here.
Oh, okay. So in an ideal world, if you have the ability to use all the features, that's great. And if you don't, because there's some sort of other part of your business that has to be the way it is, then you use that. But we look for wherever we can, ways to integrate. So we're getting systems to talk and communicate with each other efficiently. And one of the many things that I love about Keep is that it's an open API. And what that means is it allows us to integrate with pretty much any tool that's out there. So they really work hard to play well in the same sandbox with everybody else. So whether the other company is going to allow that is a whole different story. But that's where we kind of I rely a lot on email. So if Plexus doesn't have an integration with Keep, no big deal. We'll just pull stuff from your email and we'll use that to get us as far as we can. So that's kind of how we do little workarounds. So our other areas here, so we also have broadcast data. So this is your email and marketing tool. So we've talked a lot about marketing. We've talked about touching people with our phone calls and our emails and our text messages and this and that. And so it's important to know exactly how your emails are performing. And so while an open rate is not the be all end all data metric that we monitor and pay attention to that it used to be, we are able to keep track of just a general, hey, it's a ballpark to give you an idea. If you find that on average, your email open rate is 30%, and then all of a sudden it plummets to 2%, something went wrong. And then you kind of got that thing to queue up, and start to investigate, or perhaps it went the other direction. Just as a quick side note, the reason that I say that is because with all of the new security preferences that people can choose to opt in or opt out, just so you know, it's in the 90 percentile that people have opted out of cookie tracking when it comes to your iOS phones. And so that data then makes it impossible for us to accurately indicate whether or not somebody has opened an email. And so for those of us that have been in this world for a really long time, long before that ever became a thing, what I would say to our clients is, I don't care whether or not somebody's opened your email. I care whether they've read it. I care whether or not they've engaged with it. And so the goal is to try to create content that gives people some sort of an action that they should take. And that way, if they're clicking on something, if they're downloading something, then they've read it. They had to have read it to get to that button to say, do this thing. Whereas if they open it, it could be like another Christy who does not like having numbers on the inbox. And so I'm a zero inbox kind of gal. And so if I get one more email from this guy, I'm just going to open it. I don't want to delete it because I like to keep it all, but I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to open it. And now he thinks that I've done something with it. And in reality, all I did was open it so it would go away and so that my number said 0 again. But if I click on it, then he knows I read it. So that's why I tell you, so we can keep track of both the open rates, but also more importantly, we can track our click-through rate. So we want to see, and we want to keep track of over time, how is our email content being received? There's the word. How's our email content being received by the recipients? Are we getting a lot of clicks here? Are we getting a lot of people saying, replying to my message? Because that says that we're on the right track. And then that means that we need to do more of those things. Or if you expected, oh my God, this is the best email I've ever written, and you get crickets and grasshoppers, I guess, then you know that maybe this is not the best messaging, and you got something to tweak and adjust. And so this little widget here is just going to give us one single email, the most recent one, but we're also able to keep track of those kinds of metrics in our automations. So that's why I went a little bit deeper into why those things are important. And every so often, I just might get on my soapbox about weird, crazy stuff. So also when you have your email synced, and sometimes this takes a little time for it to show up here, you'll get your tasks and notifications, you'll get your emails in here, you'll get all kinds of things like an appointment coming up. Basically, this is your activity of how someone is engaging with your content, as a whole. So this is going to be everything. So it's going to be all the different ways somebody texted you back on your business line. If you use go ahead.
With the link in the Gmail, is it going to pull in every email that I get on Gmail, or only business?
It's going to only pull the emails that are for the people that are in your contact system. So if Christy Norfleet is in there, and you want to see about this email that you sent via your phone, it will show up in my contact record. But if Lamar isn't in your system, then nothing's going to show up. So tasks, so just like any other like project management tool, we've got a place where we can keep track of tasks. So like these are my to-do things. The cool thing about it is your tasks can be related to an individual client. Like, don't forget to send this personal card by mail, or don't forget to do this thing, or send this thing manually, or, you know, whatever. Or it could just be things like pay the rent, you know, like, so it doesn't have to be associated with a particular client or prospect. It could just be a place where you're managing all of the different moving parts of your business. Because we synced it up with our calendar, we also have a place on our dashboard to keep track of what you have going on in your day. So you don't have to bounce back and forth between different apps and different solutions and different tools. So here on your dashboard, like I said, this is everything that's happening. This is my day. This is what I'm focused on right now. And then also it connects to your Google business page. So if you have who has a Google business page?
Yeah.
The hardest part about the Google business page is remembering your username and password to the Google business page. Once you have that connected, we can also then see in real time. So this is a new feature. So I'm just going to show you my app for the business, because the one we're looking at is Sandbox. So it gives me the ability to automate from that particular dashboard widget, sending a manual email to one single person to say, you know, thanks so much for working with me. Please leave a review, which is great. I can also automate that in a bigger picture thing where I've got a couple of emails and I want to keep asking them for a review until they actually do it. Because remember, it takes multiple times before somebody takes an action. But the other thing that it does is it gives me real-time data right here. So when somebody leaves a review, I actually see it right here on my dashboard. So if I'm having a bad day, maybe I come in here and I look and I see I got all 5 stars. Yay, people love me. So gives you a little pep talk all at the same time. But more importantly, what it's doing is telling me who's left a review, and it's going to make it really easy for me to say, okay, I started working with Lamar, and so I want to make sure that Lamar gets a place, you know, it gets asked to leave a review. So I got that quick and easy at my fingertips. Any thoughts, questions, comments about the dashboard? Okay. Yeah, you can move the widgets around.
You can add widgets, subtract widgets, apply to you so that your dashboard's not all cluttered with stuff you don't even use. So you just click on those 3 little dots and you can actually remove that widget. And then you can also move them around so that you see what's, yeah, the way your brain works. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I've been meaning to do this in my own app since the new dashboard came out, and I never did. But it drives me crazy that it doesn't go in this order. So, you know, like it should go in the order of that, you know, it happens in, like I just did on the Sandbox.
Did you put quotes back in there? Just took quotes out.
Well, this is, well, and this is my Sandbox. This isn't the, yeah, this isn't the actual app. Okay, so.
We share a lot. Yeah. We fight over stuff.
Okay, so let's dive into contacts. Now you guys are gonna start doing stuff. So when you come to your group of contacts, and if I click on, so right here, we've got our little menu. So each one of these icons has a list of things that fall underneath of it. And for the most part, unless you're like in a B2B environment, so for Val, she might actually spend more time in companies because she is working with you all as a business. So she may have a company profile for your business, and then you have a personal profile in her app. But if you are a B2C kind of a business, then you're going to spend a lot of time focusing on the people side. And so right now, what I'd like you to do is I want you to click on the little plus icon right here in the center column. And you'll see you've got an add a contact. And I just want you to start by adding a contact. And I'm going to put my information up here. And I want you to add me. And before you start, so I just want to show you one thing real quickly.
Spell it out for your state.
So my first name is Christi. My last name is Norfleet. And then the email address is super fun. It's Christy, Christi. And it's confluence, which is the merging of two bodies of water, or confluence, and then business solutions, but there's only two S's between business and solutions. So if it was spelled properly, it'd be with three S's, but in my case, I decided it should only be two. Because for one reason or another, I thought that extra letter was just gonna make it too long. So Christy at confluencebusinesssolutions.com. And then take a look up here at the screen. And you can see here where it says add a company. So if I type in Confluence Business Solutions, that company is not already in the system. And if it was good, it would show it in the dropdown, kind of like in, you know, how your computer will keep memory of certain things like your name and address and stuff. So, but if I click on that, add a new company, now it's going to add Confluence Business Solutions, and a company record was just created for Confluence Business Solutions.
Spelled your email wrong. Is it a capital C?
It's all lowercase. Let me come over there.
Oh, I'm just, I didn't put an S on either.
No,
I was
it's
thinking
not
like,
hard.
what did I do wrong? I got it. I just didn't put the S on.
I must have
Well,
added a bunch of
me too.
contacts.
It was-
You would have no idea how many people can't get it right. You got two S's? Well,
did it mean-
mine's as long as yours. It's
I think I
created.
just said I had 46.
So you get it?
What's the phone number?
303 362 3086. I don't know if she's gonna go for that or not, but we're certain. She manually added it. Yes, yeah, we're actually gonna do that today. Oh, you,
Yep.
Did you make a list of contacts today?
Yes.
Did anybody not?
I can just pull it up from my back office and it has like all the information in there. I don't know if
Perfect.
that'll work or not.
Okay, so once you have my contact information in here, we're going to click save in the top right-hand corner. Okay.
Says you are working for me.
Okay, so what you have here. That's interesting. And so there's one part of this training that gets a little bit tricky, and this is the first time I'm doing this training in person. So I'm really excited and also a little bit stressed out about what's about ready to happen because all of you have PCs. And I'm a Mac user, and so it has come up about 50% of the time with the PC users when I do this on Zoom, that sometimes it prompts things that I don't understand. So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to navigate that well. And if not, then we're going to start from the phone, and I'll explain that to you in just a second. What you see when you're looking at your list here is right now, you guys should probably only have one or two contacts, maybe me and yourself in your center column. And then on the right-hand side is a summary of whichever contact you have clicked. So if it's me, then you're gonna have my contact information and you've got some bubbles and stuff like that underneath. So the bubbles are quick action items. So I can click on the email, and because I have my email synced up, remember how we did the integrations where you synced your email? So if I click on that email button, I can send an email directly through the app. And so I can say test email. So go ahead and pull up the email for Christy Norfleet and send me a message. And then before you send it, so take a look at the screen up here. You'll see that we have like your typical WYSIWYG editor. And underneath you've got a little toggle button for a signature. So if you uploaded a headshot in your user profile, or if you added a bunch of detail in your user profile, then that information is going to show up right here on your signature. If I toggle that button off, then it goes away.
It wouldn't let me upload any type of picture. It kept saying everything was too big.
Yeah, I think it's got to be like 300 by 300. It's got a small setting. So what I do is like the resolution of your images is too high. So I'll go into Canva and I'll create like a 300 by 300 like, template. And then I'll just upload the picture. That way I stop all the drama.
Now, if you have, so should I turn off my signature from Google email?
It will not impact this.
Okay.
Yep.
So I can just leave it there.
Yep. Yep. So you got a couple of little buttons underneath of your signature toggle button. You've got a little attachment paperclip. So if you wanted to send something as an attachment, just like you would through Gmail or something, if we were a little further along in the training and you'd created calendar links, which we're going to do here in a couple of minutes, you could literally click the button and have a calendar link that you could put into your email. And then you can also have the same thing with Google reviews. If we'd set up and synced up to our Google business page, if I click on the Google review button, it will insert your Google review link. And then the last thing here, and this is again, one of those things that's one of my favorites, is that those emails that you still have to send manually for one reason or another, but it's the same over and over and over again, you can create a template of it. So Keep has given you a bunch of templates to start with just out of the box, but you can also create your own templates. So as an example, I give a very personalized follow-up to a new pending customer. And so I start with a template, and then there's certain things that get changed for each individual email that goes out. And so then I just make those alterations, but I don't have to spend 30 minutes typing the same stuff over and over again. I just have to change the parts that are relevant to that conversation. So I click the button for that particular template, and it inserts that copy in here. And then I can make changes from inside here. Yes, sir.
That template button to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So if you say click on the manage templates,
oh, man.
you'll see that you can actually add templates or so see how so I clicked on the manage templates, and this little plus button here is where you can create a whole new template, and then you can save it as a particular name.
Okay.
So that way you have that as a resource over and over again. Yeah. Okay. So once, I don't care what you say, just say, send me something nice. So make your little email and then press the send button. So you send me an email.
And if I'm not in your contact, it'll pop up on there.
I'm sorry.
If I'm not in your contact.
You won't be in this one, but you will be in my, well, you'll be in my Outlook, but once you fill out, actually, so if you filled out the form, then you're in my list of contacts. So yeah, your email will show up.
So I did not integrate Calendly yet, but yeah.
Which is fine, because I'm going to show you how to eliminate Calendly from your life. If you want to.
Okay. I'll have to just send the links to people.
Well, hold that thought, because that's what we're going to cover that here in just a little bit. Okay, so did everybody send their email?
Yeah, I think I did.
You good? Okay. So we've sent our first email. Congratulations. Okay, so some of our other bubbles. So we've got a text bubble. We've got tags. So tags are, so I like to think of them as sticky notes for people. So tags are a way for you to segment your lists. So I'll use Val as an example. So she will have her members as one tag. She may have her practitioners as another tag. And I'm going to guess that there are people who come to the monthly wellness expo that are not practitioners. So they may be tagged to something else, but you could be a practitioner and also be at the wellness expo. And so you may have two tags. So there's no limit to how many tags you can put on an individual. So somebody could be a client, they could be an ideal customer tag, they could be they were a customer that joined in 2022. They could be anything that you want them to be. So they could be a recurring, like they're on a subscription, or they are they're tagged as a prospect, and then you want to change that to a customer once they become a customer. Things like that are things that you can be making a custom or personalized tagging system for your business. So they're personalized and specific to the work that you do. Simple out of the box, the system comes with newsletter tag and I think new customer tag and things like that. You can delete them, you can change them, but really what the cool part is that you can add hundreds of them, thousands of them if you really wanted to. Makes it a little hard to find them when you have thousands of them, but you can do that. And what you do with them is then once you have a group of people tagged, so Val has her practitioners tagged, she wants to send you an email about the next upcoming training with Confluence Business Solutions. She can come up here to this little upside down triangle and she can filter her list. So over here in the center column is your entire database, which right now is for you guys 2 people and for you about 50 or 60 people. So that's how many people are going to show up. When you import your list, you're going to have a lot more people. And so it's really hard to know what to do with. And we want to make sure that our emails are specific. We want to make sure that our nurturing is unique to that particular audience. So we're not going to always send the same email to the same people all the time. So that's where the filters come in. So I can filter off of anything that is stored inside the contact record. So we've got out of the box typical CRM fields, but we also may have a bunch of custom fields that are unique and specific to the work that you do. So it's Allison, right? Amanda, I'm sorry. So Amanda, you may have custom fields for grade level of a student or parent information, or for you, like your students may be contacting people in your system and your parents may be contact people in the system. And so what are some custom fields that you may collect or capture information that's specific and unique to those kinds of relationships? And any one of those custom fields is going to be something that you can automate from, and you can also search from. So if I wanted to say, I want to find all of my parents are going to be tagged. Maybe it's a parent of a elementary schooler or a parent of an active client of mine or something along those lines. That's a way that you can search for that list, and then you can take action from them, like send an email or send a broadcast text message or push them into an automated campaign. You could also delete the entire list if you wanted to, or maybe you want to save that search because it's something that you use over and over and over again. So we can filter by things. So I'm going to say I'm going to choose my tag because that's something else I can filter by. And I can say that we're going to search for any tag that includes any one of those things or excludes any one of those things. And I can create multiple layers of searching. So you can create really sophisticated searches, and there's no limit to what that can look like. And then I have my drop down and I could type something in, or I can just choose it from the drop down itself. And it won't show me a number down here until I find something that's got everybody. Are you okay?
Yeah, I was lost. I was like, where's the tag?
Oh.
Is that like a click?
It's our little upside down triangle, and it's how we filter.
I was in there, but I didn't know that it was at the bottom.
I know because I like to be fast about all the things I want it at the top. So I just type in tag. So you can go to filter and then just type in when you click on that, if you type in tag, then you'll skip having to scroll. Because once you start to add custom fields, then it scrolls even longer. So. Okay, I'm going to show you one other thing and then we'll take a break. How does that sound? Okay, so we've covered how to search for contacts. We've covered a couple of our bubbles, and now I'd like for you to, I'm trying to figure out how I can. There we go. Okay, so your screen probably looks a little bit more like, do you guys have 3 columns right now like this?
I can get there. I was there
Yes.
before.
Okay, so some of you might look more like that, where it says info.
Yeah.
Yeah, depending on the size of your screen, it will collapse that information. So if you only have the 2 columns here, then if you click on the info button, you'll see the 3rd column. And so what we're looking at in Christy's profile is just the information that's collected. So Keep has a CRM. It's a robust CRM. CRMs tend to collect the same information from everybody. We want to know their phone number. We want to know where they live. We want to know their date of birth or their anniversary. Like there's standard things that all CRMs capture, right? So if I click on the edit button in the top right-hand corner, you can see that we've got the company field, we've got job title, we've got phone number. We can add phone numbers, we can add secondary, third, tertiary emails. We can add all these things. So basically what happens is when you're just looking at the unedited version of a contact record, what we're looking at is just the information that you've collected. So you're not having to sift through a bunch of useless crap that you don't care about. Like if it's not relevant to your business, why have to look through 3 different address fields to find the other thing that you actually need? So Keep is going to make it so that you can go in there, look at the data that you have and get the information you need and go on with your day. But the more information you have, the more power you have to give more custom content, to provide better follow-up, to, oh my gosh, I collected their address and it is Christmas and I'm going to send them a postcard with all of my chickens. So when I have that information, then I can see it in there. Makes it a little bit easier for us to know what we have to work with. So when you click on the edit, you see all of the stuff that's just out of the box. If I scroll all the way to the bottom, I can see this button that says add a custom field. And with Keep, you get 150 custom fields. So this is where you get to make your CRM yours. So you create custom fields specific to your business. So if your business, so Lamar, as an example, maybe because you're in the business of networking, an important thing for you is to know where you met someone. So a custom field could be, where did we meet? I am working on right now in real time, updating how our new customer onboarding is. We got a new work agreement and I am trying to make it so that I don't have 6 different contracts for 6 different kinds of clients. So I have all these custom fields that say, okay, this is the terms. These are the number of hours that this person wants to work with me. All of that information is really helpful too, when I start growing my team more and I have this new person who's learning about this relationship. They need to know this is how many hours we have to work with that client. So now I'm also making my business that much more efficient because somebody else is looking at that particular contact record for that particular client. Does that make sense? So that's how you can use different custom fields. So what I tell people is if it's something that you're going to access and use over and over again, absolutely make a custom field for it. And there are about 30 different ways that you can create a custom field, because you can do it while you're on the fly doing all the other things that are a part of your business, whether that's creating a form, whether that's building a landing page, which might be your website, or it's creating some sort of internal process. All of those different things could be places where you're like, oh yeah, I need a custom field for that. And it will prompt you to give you a place to do that. So all the things that you can do inside of a contact record.
Does anyone understand the lingo, like what a custom field is?
Yes. So
And how to use them?
it's like the same thing that all the rest of them, like your phone number, your address, but you're using it for like you said, where we met. So I can type in like wellness is where we met.
Yeah, so like something for you is, let's say you wanted to send a survey out to your clients to find out their interest in different types of events or whatever. So you can make you can make a custom field for each question. And then that way you can track those responses. The Keep will save those responses for you. You can aggregate them, you can report on them, you can go to Valerie and say, hey, what's Valerie like? What kind of music does she like? What kind of events does she like? Is she an audio, visual, tactile learner? So it'll keep it for her, and then you can also like aggregate your survey results, like what is Rowan interested in?
I have a question. So you told me if I put that as a custom field, like if I put that as a custom field and I have them in my contacts and I send that survey, Keep is gonna automatically put that into their contact.
Yes, because you're building the form inside Keep.
That is.
So now you're all excited. Now
Did you see the light bulb just went off?
Valerie in a while. So you just go to her contact record, find something that she likes. The survey we sent out to you today. Are you an audio, are you a visual, or a tactile learner? That way, when we have interactions with you, we know that if you're a tactile learner, just talking to you is not going to, you're not going to get as much out of it as if you had the hands-on. Yeah. So and then you can also aggregate. You can combine like row and row. What are all of my students? What are the majority of them interested in? How do the majority of them learn? What kind of events are the majority of them interested in? And keep all of that for you. So it's individualized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to take a 15-minute break, and I'm going to give you break homework as well. Because but it's not sitting at your desk. It is going to be to grab your phone, do your little walking around, go to the bathroom, whatever. Find the Keep app on your phone. So go to wherever your app store is and look for Keep, Keap, and download the app. And I'm perfect. Yeah, are all gold star students. So the reason why is because we're going to try to bypass the thing that I am scared of because I don't understand how PCs work. So let's take a break. We'll be back here in at 11:30. Awesome. Okay, so the last thing I want to do before we move on is, has anybody not uploaded a list of contacts, like from a spreadsheet or anything like that? Lamar, you've only done business cards, right?
No, I won't have to, I was brought those lists here.
Okay, perfect. That's what you were supposed to do. So what I'd like you to do is click on this plus symbol. We're in contacts. And then you'll see in your list here, you've got a plus symbol. And you can manually add one single contact by adding a contact, or you can import contacts like an Excel spreadsheet or something along those lines. So because Keep likes to play well with others, they've made it really easy for you to import contacts from lots of other places. So if there's things like QuickBooks or MailChimp that's got a bunch of your data already, you can actually just sync it up. So Val, when we set up her system, she's got her lists in MailChimp. It took us about it took us 5 minutes because it took us a couple minutes to find the right password, which is oftentimes the hardest part of this process is passwords. So the reason I ask you to do some homework beforehand is so that we don't spend our time looking for passwords. So if you're using something like MailChimp, you can already just click on and connect to that particular system. The other option you can do is, and I'm guessing, Lamar, you have an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so go ahead and click on that Excel spreadsheet. And you're going to upload your file at the first prompt. And have you noticed that things are really like intuitive? So like all you have to do is follow the directions to get from step 1 to step 2, step 3. You're going to say something?
Yeah, I have a question. So what if the Excel sheet isn't actually my Excel sheet? What if it's like June's Excel sheet?
There are ethics, which we'll talk about here in just a second. I was planning on commenting about like the ethics of emailing and texting people. Like they need to be people who've consented to marketing. So, and we'll talk a little bit about how you can also get double opt-in. So like, have you ever signed up for something and then somebody says, I want to confirm you're not a robot? So things like that are ways that you can help improve the integrity of your email list, but you want to make sure that the people that you're uploading are people that are going to expect to get email from you. So if they don't expect it and then you start emailing them and you get a whole bunch of people unsubscribing from your stuff, not only will Keep tell you, they'll come back to you and they'll give you a slap on the wrist and they'll tell you that you're above the industry approved rate, which is like 0.01%. It is actually a very small amount. And MailChimp is not good at this. Constant Contact is not good at this. They're actually in violation of the law. And also by not doing it, they're allowing you to do damage to your, what we call your sender reputation. So if you are sending email to people who haven't opened your email, haven't clicked on your stuff, or have never even signed up on your list in the first place, if you do that over and over and over again, eventually the way the receiving server, so Yahoo, AOL, Google, all of those things, the way they look at your stuff is they see that overall people don't like what you have to offer. It's spammy, it's markety, whatever. And they send it to the promotions folder. You keep doing it and it doesn't get open. Then it goes into the spam folder. You keep doing it. It doesn't even get delivered. It's marked as a bounce. So even if it's a good email address, if you keep marketing to people who don't want to hear from you, you will make it so that the person who does want to hear from you isn't going to get your stuff either, because they are saying, okay, well, the other 3,000 people who are also my Gmail clients, because Gmail only cares about protecting its Gmail clients. Yahoo cares about protecting its Yahoo clients. So Keep is going to help you by making sure that you are following best practices so that you don't get yourself into trouble later. And I go into extra detail about this because we have clients that refuse to follow the rules. And then over and over and over again, they don't get their email sent into people, like they won't deliver. And then they're upset and frustrated because they want to know why. And I'm like, listen, I can't make that right for you. And the reality is that it is no different than your credit score, where it takes you this much time to completely trash your credit score and it can take you years to rebuild it. So if you start with good practices from the beginning, then you are not going to have to deal with the consequences of a bad reputation later. I call it keep jail. Yeah. So that was a really long answer, and I'm sorry, another soapbox. What you got?
I know I'm probably talking too much, but like, so no cold emails.
Cold emails are okay, but I would say what you need to do is ask them for permission to email them.
Or maybe not exclusively market to 500 cold emails at once, just in case you do get spam claims.
Understood.
So if you have
Understood.
like 5 cold emails mixed in with 100,
Like
you have
regulars.
permission, yeah, it spreads that out.
Understood.
So here's a question. So I'm thinking of like, I'm Lamar, and my world is basically like meeting all these new people all the time and exchanging business cards, right? And so he's getting, and so what if he set up like, oh, thank you so much, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and email you. I'm gonna email you so you have my address, and then when he does, say he comes in and he sets it up so that when he enters a new contact, they get an email that's like, hey, it was great to meet you the other day.
That's
And
okay.
then he links them to his automation. Like, if you want to, I'm glad you get appointed. I hope we can do some business together. Let me know how I can help you. Like a friendly email, and then ask in that, like, hey, I do this regular newsletter or whatever. If you want to make sure you get that, click here. Then you ask them in that first undirected email to
Okay.
receive your automation emails. Does that
And
make sense?
That is, like, you skipped to the very,
Okay.
so you're gonna actually really love when we figure out how to get the campaigns that I created for you guys into your apps, because you should have gotten them. One of them is specifically for, you go to a networking event, you collect a bunch of cards, now I wanna get in touch with you to schedule a meeting. So the whole automation, the whole purpose of it is to get them scheduled.
Okay.
And it was like, it's a me just for you, Mark. Just for
In
you.
a mutual exchange of business cards, that's kind of like giving permission to contact people. right?
It is, but it's actually not for email marketing. So they want to, like, even if, let's say, for example, you say you want my 15 automation tips on my website. By law, I am required to ask you to opt in. And then there's not a whole lot of answers about, okay, so what happens if they don't opt in? Do you give them the goods or do you not give them the goods? The different people do different things. But my philosophy is I'm always going to ask. And I'm going to keep asking you. Let's say, for example, you ask for my automation tips and I ask you to confirm your email, you don't. I'm going to give you the goods because I actually want to still always deliver on my promise. And then every time you sign up for something else, I'm still going to send you through that double opt-in. If you've opted in, you're not going to get it. But if you haven't opted in, you're going to continue to be prompted to confirm your email. And all I'm doing is protecting the integrity and health of my list. Because the more people that don't, it's just considered an unconfirmed email. So, yeah, okay. So let's get your list up. Look.
So I would have to just keep going, like, I don't,
You just have your business cards?
yeah,
Okay, that's fine. You've got a couple people in there.
yes.
So when we get to the end, when we're actually doing automation, let's just use those guys, and then at your leisure at home later on, you can keep working on adding your business cards but what we're gonna do is you're gonna spend some time this afternoon and you're gonna personalize those messages for the context, so that way it fits your scenario.
All right,
Does that sound good?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, the list that Jen gave you of the leads for the expo, like, those are fine for you to email personally and be like, hey, how'd you come to the expo? You want to come? It's not for business automation. Do you see the difference there? Like, it's not bad for you to have that list. It's not bad for those people that you think it's gonna be in there just because it came from Jen.
I'm talking about okay, so I have a list of, we're creating a list of people that we want to contact to try to be in the expo. Like that's not, you
Okay,
can't put
so
them in
you wouldn't
automation.
want to put them in an automation,
Right.
unless you
Unless
made
they
it
say-
personal, the first one it said, hey, can I send you our weekly updates on the expo?
The other option is to send it as that. So like Val can send it because it's for expo, so they know better, right?
Well, no, these are new prospects.
So did you
Okay.
go over broadcast first?
Not yet.
It's
Sorry.
coming along.
All right,
We
sorry,
have
Okay.
I'm not trying to,
No, you're fine.
We're so excited.
yeah.
We're gonna take care of it.
But it also like the way your server, the way the receiving server is going to interpret your email is also going to be dependent on how you send it. So a single email in that contact record is going to be perceived the way Outlook sends an email. Whereas if you send a broadcast, which is like a one-off email, if you push somebody into automation, that's going to be pushing out as a marketing email. But it has to be good marketing email or your people aren't going to open it. And then over time, they keep not opening it, and that's how you move into promotions and job.
So, but on this, I'm allowed to send like one-off emails, like just.
Yes, you are allowed to send. It's just, in the long run, you want to worry about your sender reputation. So you have this list that you want to see if they're interested in the event. Send them one email. It's when you, like Valerie said, after that initial email, then ask them to opt in. Because if you keep sending emails and keep sending emails, that's when they're going to report you as spam or just stop opening or unsubscribe. Those are the things that hurt you. Just sending out that one initial email, hey, are you interested in this? They're probably not going to report you.
Okay. Just like, sorry about
Cool.
that.
No, I want to make sure you are,
This is.
everything's
it's all
covered.
new. You just have to think about how you want to talk to the clients.
Understand.
So so that we can move on to other stuff, especially because we only have 2 more hours. I want to just kind of cover what happens here. And I don't have a good sample, and I should have brought that. But what happens that I really like about the way the importing works, if you're using an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file, is it's really smart. So like if you have a column called first name and another column called last name, and it doesn't matter how it's like, if it has spaces or capitalized or whatever, it knows what that is, and it's automatically going to map your first name to your first name field and your last name to your last name field. So the only places where it's going to actually ask you to tell me where to put this information is if you have custom data. So if, for example, you have an Excel spreadsheet, Lamar, from the Wellness Expo, and it's got like industry, and it's not a really clear, like, this is the place it goes, it's going to ask you to find that place. And it may be something straight out of the box, like, hey, we're going to use the title field in Keep, or you can create a custom field right then and there. So when you get to the place where you've uploaded your Excel spreadsheet, it's going to try and get you as far along as it can by itself, the algorithm, the computer, and then it's just going to ask you to help fill in the last remaining blanks, and you just follow the prompts. It's that easy. And whether you're using Constant Contact or MailChimp or an Excel spreadsheet or QuickBooks, that process is exactly the same. So the step 1 might be different, MailChimp versus an Excel spreadsheet, but it's going to try and map your fields as far as it can. And then it's going to ask you to fill in the blanks for anything that it can't figure out by itself. And then when you finish it, it's going to send you an email if your list is really big. If it's a list that's like, 15 people, it'll probably be done just like that, and they'll just be in your system. So once your list is complete, now we've got our list of contacts right here in the center. Lucy Van Pelt and Peppermint Patty and Mickey Mouse, they're all in there, and we can do all the things that we've talked about at length. Other things that live under the contacts umbrella, remember our tags that we talked about? So we can create tags inside of a contact record, but oh my gosh, I can't remember what that tag is called. I can click on that section and I can see all the tags. And I can search. So I remember that there's one tag and it's called newsletter or something like that. Okay, maybe it's just, I don't have a newsletter tag. So we'll go with new lead. So I can start typing in something that might be close to it to help me find all the things that are related. So that may be something that's very helpful for you. So let's move on to my day. So, right, you've connected to your calendar, right? Connected to a calendar? Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to encourage embracing an online calendar, even if you don't use it all by itself. So here's the other thing that I will say. If you have multiple calendars, and what I mean by that is you have a calendar with christynorfleet@gmail.com, and I have another calendar with christy@confidencebusinesssolutions.com, and I have another calendar that's connected to support@confidencebusinesssolutions.com. The system only syncs to one calendar. But if christy@confidencebusinesssolutions.com has several calendars that live in that account, they will all show up. Does that make sense? So a lot of times people will create little calendars. So like the Wellness may have a calendar, but then she may also have one for the expo and another. So like what I did to get to this place where it like works seamlessly for me is that my business calendar is the hub of my calendar, period. So like, as an example, we're going to Maryland this weekend. That's where I'm from, by the way, originally. So I put that on the family calendar. That's a different email address. So it is not going to sync on here. If I don't want somebody to book an appointment tomorrow, I'm going to also block time off on my business calendar, because that way that time is no longer considered accessible or available. So even if I'm doing something on my personal calendar, I want to make sure that there's nothing that's going to interfere with that. So you've synced the email address. So that is going to be the hub. Everything that you do, because you don't want somebody to book a time, because the thing is when you start using this, people use it and it works. So you can see here, I've got my appointments. And then over here, you can see that I've got time blocked off. So just as an example, I want to make sure that no one books time in the time it takes me to get here and the time it takes me to get home. And let me tell you how many times I had to learn that the hard way, because I'm really used to running a virtual business, and this whole like meeting people in person thing is absolutely wonderful. And everything is at least 20 minutes away. So I need to give myself some travel time. So I just blocked off extra time to make that really easy. But I can see in my calendar right here what's happening in my day. And I can scroll forward and backwards and see all of the different appointments. So from my dashboard, I can see it. Inside the My Day section, I can see it. And then we have this column here in the center, and this is where we can create individual appointments. So if you click on the plus sign, so go ahead and click on the plus sign, we're going to make our first appointment, and we're going to make our first automation. So go ahead and if you have an appointment, like a standard one, like you have a free consultation that you normally do, that's like 30 minutes or an hour, go ahead, let's just create that first thing. And I'd like you to be thinking about something that's real, because in order for the automation that we're going to use later today to work, I want you to be able to have an appointment that actually works, because the goal that we're going to achieve is they're going to book an appointment on your calendar. So what would that look like? So for me, in our business, if I'm trying to get somebody on a free call, I'm going to offer a free 30-minute strategy call. So I'm going to call it free 30-minute strategy call. Do you want us to wait for you to go back and do that?
I just downloaded it. I think.
Okay. Yeah, you'll find also that there's things like that you can do in your settings, and you can also do it in other places in the app. Thank you.
Yeah, that's something you're doing right now. But how do you do that? Is it a phone call? Or is it a Zoom meeting? You know what? I do what?
Messenger. I'll walk through Messenger. I didn't
No,
Well-
online.
I do it different.
Well, click online to see what
So the thing is if you do like online and in person, you would create different appointments for different things. So like if you have an online version, then you create one that's for online and one that's for in person.
I hardly ever do. I'm in person.
So choose in person.
I mean, that's what we. There you go.
There you go. Okay. Underneath of the title, you'll see a checkbox, and it says use my business name instead of my personal name. So your link, if you don't check that box, it's going to say something like you can book me.christineorflea.com or something like that. If I put this box, it's going to be like you can book me.confluence business solutions. So how do you want to be represented publicly? So that's kind of the difference there. And then because we do most of our meetings online, I'm going to choose that online button. And because I took an extra couple minutes and I synced up or I integrated my Zoom is already set up in here, so I can check my Zoom button. If you do in person or over the phone, both of these are going to allow you to choose who's making the decisions. Are you the person setting the location, or are you the person that's going to call them, or are they the person that's going to tell you where to meet, or are they the person that's going to call you? So those are the options that you choose for either one of those. So I'm going to say that they can choose I'm going to choose in person for this 30-minute strategy call. And I'm going to say that they get to choose the location. So is everybody at this point?
Yeah, I have a question.
What's that?
I allow my clients to choose either online or in person.
So I would either give them two different links, or you can't have it doesn't have the ability to give them the choice to do that from the front end.
So you'll do
Calendly
an initial
does.
consult.
Yeah.
In person and then an initial consult.
Yeah, so you would say virtual consult in person.
And Calendly does integrate directly with Keep. So if your preference is to pay for the extra, for that extra benefit, because that is a necessity in your business, then you can simply use Calendly in your business. So sticking with my scenario here, we're going to meet in person. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to say they're going to choose the location. And now I'm going to choose next. So this next section here, we're going to say how long. So I said in my title, 30 minutes. So I'm going to choose my time limit as 30 minutes. And then for that buffer time, we're going to say, I want to say 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after. So that way nobody can book. So I've got a 30-minute call with 30 minutes on the front or the back end. So 15 minutes before, 15 minutes after. So I've blocked off some time. And then down below is when they can book. So by default, it says from 9 to 5. But let's say, for example, I am really about having a lunch break. So I'm going to say from 9 to noon, and then from 1 p.m. And I like to wrap up at, say, 3 p.m. So now I've said that the availability on Monday is from 9 to noon and from 1 to 3. And so if they're looking at my calendar, they can't book after 3 p.m. and they can't book from 12 to 1 p.m. But if I click on the next day, I get to set a whole different set of arrangements. So if, for example, you don't want to have those free consultation calls on a Friday, you click on Friday and just delete that setting. So you get to create custom time availability for each individual day.
This is not much different from Calendly in that respect. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. Go ahead and continue, maybe the question will come back.
Okay. Okay, so let me know when you guys are finished going through all your individual tabs. Okay, so did we get through all of our dates, our times? Are we good? Do you need another minute?
No.
We can wait.
My next button's not blue.
So you must have an error somewhere.
That's what- Oh, so it has to. Why are there two blocks there? The others, I just booked like my availability time.
Oh, you want to add a buffer? And the duration, that's what it's looking for.
So it's okay to have like a 60-minute Zoom, 60-minute in person. I don't have a buffer for my Zoom, it doesn't matter, but I have a buffer for my in person.
Yeah, so that can work. Yep.
The calendar will block off.
Because it'll look good.
In case you go over,
Yep.
in case you need to follow up.
No, she's. Thank you.
Okay. So. Did you need access? No. Oh, it's a keep thing.
I didn't do it.
So now that I've gotten through creating all of my time slots, I've set my duration and my buffering time. I'm going to click on next. So this is really nice because what this stage does is if you have an onboarding process, like something that you need to have them do. Let's say, for example, Amanda, you are having a like pre-kickoff call and you want them to do some sort of an intake form. So you might send pre-appointment instructions and attach that that intake form to that and say, please complete this before that call. So that's
And I
something.
don't have one, and I've always wanted to have one.
So there you go. So that's how you can make that a possibility. So you include that in their booking confirmation. So, hey, thanks so much. Before you show up, don't forget to fill out my intake form here. Okay, so now I told you you're going to make your first automation. So now you should be at this screen. Everybody at this screen?
Want to make, where's that?
Your additional options, you just click this after you select which calendar.
So Click on your My Megan. And then click on one of your 12. Three dots. Ah, there you go. And then click edit.
So this is,
And then click, scroll down, automation.
so it's,
Okay, so because you've already published yours,
Yeah.
just hang out right there, because that screen is the same, this is essentially where we're at. Okay, so what this is doing is it's giving you options, it's giving you pointers or tips, some ideas to get you started on your first automation. So every time you create a new calendar, a new product, a new deal, which we haven't even gotten to any of those things yet, you will get an option to create automation as a result. So that what that means is when someone books this appointment, these are a couple of things that you can do. So you can see that you've got a little green lightning bolt. It says send contact 24-hour text reminder. And then you got a little plus sign. So if I want to send that text message that says, hey, don't forget to show up, which by the way, if you send text messages, you greatly increase the odds that someone is going to show up at your meeting. So I'm going to click that button. And what you're going to see is this right hand pop up over here. And now I'm starting to build my first automation. And you can see here that it says that when this appointment is scheduled, when this free 30-minute strategy call, because that's what I named mine. So whatever you call your strategy call is going to show up here. When this happens, we're going to wait 24 hours. And I ended up here. I can't, unfortunately, because then I can't see it. Okay. Is that any better, Lamar?
I don't have the 24 hours.
If I give them 24-hour notice, they're gonna forget the next day.
Well, and you can actually do one 15 minutes before
That's what I'm
or,
gonna do.
yeah,
is I'm
so you
doing like
can-
6 hours, it gives me that bigger window that I want.
so if you click on this edit button here, Amanda,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm doing, is I'm going through and editing it.
okay.
You're good.
Okay, so we are at the automate stage. So stage 4, step 4 of your calendar.
Send an email 24-hour, I can do that, I like that.
Send an email, like you can do any of those things, and there's a plus button. So let's say someone made that appointment with you, and you just want to call me there and say, hey, thanks for being with me. It's just gonna automate that. So what do you want to do? Call me there. So do it.
I'm sorry.
Follow up general. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, and it already gives you like some starters,
Okay.
but you can edit that. The only thing I caution is you see the brackets with the contact name.
Yeah.
That's what the merge field is. So it's gonna automatically put your client's name in there. So don't mess with the merge.
Okay.
But you can edit anything. So if you say hello, is that have you done signature too?
Yeah. Okay, so okay, so back here. So I'm going to click on my edit button. And does your screen, do you have this little thing on the side? Okay, so do you see where it says when?
Yes.
Okay, and you have an appointment in there?
Appointment is scheduled.
Yep, and then what does it say underneath of that?
Any of Lamar Walker's appointment.
Okay, and if you click on that 3 dots to the right, can you click on edit?
Yep.
Okay, so in there, you can say, if you click on edit, you can have it be that this automation is for any of your appointments, or you can specify this automation for a particular appointment. So if you have, in my case, I've got 3 appointments already set up, I can choose that free 30-minute strategy call that I just created with you guys. And then down below, it says wait 24 hours before the appointment. But I also, because I chose to add 2 text messages, right now I have 2 messages. See how they both say send 24-hour text messages? Okay, so I want to change one of these so I don't send 2 of them.
Do the same automation.
And see how, where did it go?
Appointment reminders?
Yeah. Yeah, we have to do it in a different section.
Oh,
So I think we have to do this part in another section. So my apologies there. So what we can see though is that we can edit the text message itself. And you can see what number it's sending to and who the recipient is. So like what numbers is it going to attempt to try to reach? The other thing that is important to mention is that you chose a local number. When you text people from that local business number, it is free. If you text via automation like this, you get with Keep Pro, which is the version of Keep that you're demoing, you get 150 free automated text messages. After that, it's 4 cents per message. And the rules about the way it works is because they care about that sender integrity, they're going to send a message first that asks the person for permission to text, which I'm guessing by this point in time, when you've gotten automated text messages, you've been asked to opt in some instances. So it's going to be one of those. And if they say yes, then your email gets delivered and it counts towards that 150 free or 4 cents afterwards. If they say no, or they don't answer, your text message doesn't get delivered and you're not charged. Does that make sense? Okay. So now I've gotten in here, I've got my automations, because right now I've got too many of these text messages. I'm going to delete that one. Okay. So right now, as a basic automation, we say that when my free 30-minute strategy call is booked, then 24 hours before, we're going to send a text message. And then it's going to stop if the person cancels the appointment. So in the top right-hand corner, can you see the publish button?
Got it. Yeah.
So click publish. And ladies and gentlemen, we've created our first automation. Awesome. Okay, so it's 12:30. How's everybody feeling on energy-wise? Do we need a break for food? Anything? Okay. So we are still in our automation here. So now I'm going to click on this. So you should be at a screen that looks similar to this, where we were setting our rules. I'm going to click on this finish button. And now what we have is a place where we can take that code and do stuff with it, or we can take a link, or we can email contact directly. So, because I like to mess around with Lamar, and I know he's in my system. Except Lamar, actually, I don't think your email is in here, so I can't successfully send that. So I want to say I'm going to send an email directly from here to Lamar, and I've already got that pre-templated email all ready to go. I can press the send button and it will go and send to him. I can customize my email and go out just like that. The other options that I can do is I can take the code and I can embed it on my website. So have you ever gone to somebody's website and click the button to schedule a call and the calendar's right there and you don't have to go anywhere? So that's what code will do. So you can literally have it living on your site. And then the link itself is literally just the URL for that calendar. And because you synced it with your calendar, it's not going to allow people to book where there's an appointment. So today, nobody can book on my calendar because I marked the whole day as unavailable. But they can look at, so the next available day on my calendar, based on the rules I created in here, is next Tuesday at 12 o'clock or 12:30, because I didn't actually do anything to block off lunchtime on Tuesday. But that's the availability that they have. So they're looking for a time that works on my calendar, and they choose their time, they fill out their information, and they don't have to be in your system. So Lamar, you go to a networking event, you get a business card, and you send a personal email from your Gmail, and you send it out with your calendar booking link. Somebody books the call. All of their information gets added to your contact record or contact system. So now, Christy Norfleet, who you just met, you sent an email from your Google, not from your Keep app, and they book that call. Christy Norfleet books that call. Now you've got my name, email, phone number, and I'm going to get reminder emails and text messages. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think this is really pretty. So I really like that part. It's not like this old analog looking calendar. So I think it works really nicely with like a modern look and feel.
You can set up automation as well to notify you when someone books an appointment.
Well, and actually you do. You get a message on your phone. So anytime somebody books a call, anytime somebody makes a purchase. So I like it when I wake up in the morning and I made money overnight. It was really nice. That's a really nice way to wake up. It's better than getting bills. Okay, so we're going to keep going then. So we've done our comms in terms of our business line and our text messaging. So I want you to click on email broadcasts. And this is an area we're not going to go into a huge amount of depth about. So we're in comms, and the second line down is email broadcasts. And in this top right-hand corner, I just want you to see it. Because a lot of people have had experience with like a Constant Contact or a MailChimp or another email tool, MailerLite. Let's see what other ones are there out there right now. There's a lot of like really inexpensive things with some limited functionality. This is a brand new tool. So there's two different email builders, and the email broadcast, the new tool that was released at the end of the year is gorgeous. So when I click on that email broadcast, you can see I've got, again, we're seeing a pattern here, a 3-step process. We choose our template, we create our email, and then we send. So it's going to give us like, and as we're going through this journey, it's telling us where we are in the journey. So I want to, I'm lacking in creativity. I'm going to send my first broadcast, and I'm going to look at all of these templates and choose one that is a good starting point. I don't have to stick to it. As a point of reference, I like to start with the templates, say I don't like anything on them, delete all of it and start from scratch. You can also skip that step altogether and create your own template from scratch. You get a blank version, and then you get to click and drag stuff onto the screen. Once you create a template that you really like, let's say, for example, you're an avid newsletter sender, or you want to be an avid newsletter sender, and you have this particular format that you want to create, you can save that email, that newsletter that you created, as your newsletter template. And every time you come back in here to send your next newsletter, it's going to show up in your templates. So you have that to work off of, and it'll save you all that time that you don't have to go back and redesign it over and over and over again. And I can always go back and look at my previously sent emails, which I don't have because this is my sandbox. So I'm going to start for our exercise. And like I said, we're just kind of scratching the surface here because I want us to spend more time with automations and our store. So we have, I'm going to choose this one. I'm just going to choose this template. Well, I think a lot of people prefer to start with something. You get a starting point. And so if you've ever done any work, has anybody like worked on like building their own like website or a web page or anything like that? Yeah. So you know how most of the time nowadays you've got a page builder where you can click and drag widgets onto the screen. Does that sound familiar? So Wix does the same thing. So you've got widgets that you can move around. So in this case, I've got all these are my widgets, and I want to add a video above my button. So I'm going to drag my video widget, and I'm going to drop it right there. And it even told me to drag it here. And so now I've got my video widget, and now all I have to do is go and find my URL, click it in here, and it'll allow that video to play in my email. I want to go back and I want to add a text box. I'm going to click on my content widget. I've got a heading, and honestly, I don't know why there's a heading and a text box because they're the same thing, but okay, whatever. And so so right now it's operating off of a transparent background on my text box. So it's clear, but I want to make the color of my font red. And I can also go as far as messing around with some of the other features. See if I can make it happen here. It's not gonna let me do it won't let me do it on a text box.
No, are you looking for background?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go out to the whole section. Yeah, you have to, because you put it inside. And then right above that, right there.
There we go.
On that. That
Okay.
should give you the whole container.
I think that's a line though, it says.
You just gotta mess with it and get to the container.
It's a brand new tool. There is a learning curve for all of us, myself included.
It's not as intuitive.
Okay, maybe it's because it's
Because
not
it doesn't-
it's not the 2 columns. So here's a good example, I think. Nope.
It doesn't give you the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
So you just have to mess with it until you
Okay.
grab the whole thing.
So what I meant by columns is you can build your content so that it sits in columns and rows. So this section here is all like one single row, but I can also click and drag multi-column sections onto my page. So right now it's got 2 columns, see 1 and 2, and I want to add a 3rd column or a 5th column, 4 columns, I can't count. But then I can also change the color of the content that's in here. So I can put red text on a green background. So right now I'm editing the 1st column. I want that one to be orange. And I want this one to be green.
So this is where this looks like Honeybook, actually.
Okay. Well, they all have some sort of an email tool.
Right, right, right.
Um,
They just concentrated so much on the email tool that it was hard to figure out. It was like buried. Everything else was buried.
Yep, I believe that. We have a client that was moving away or to Honeybook. She did a couple of things of experimenting.
But
So-
once you get it built, you can save it
Right, right.
and it's done.
Well, and
Yeah.
you don't have to make it complicated. You can just do a simple
Yeah.
black and white.
Most
text.
people do, they just put the
Yeah, it doesn't
logo,
have to be all the woo-woo.
the text, maybe another picture with a hyperlink and then your closing statement.
It's
In
fun.
general,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fun, but then at the same time, if you got people who have like attention issues, like sometimes black and white quickie is a better way to go.
Yeah, so ironically, so I say that I don't want to go into all this detail, but I love to play around with it.
Mhm.
But the reality is that you can't control what it's going to look like when it gets to the recipient. So as an example, I use Outlook. Told you that. So when an email comes to me, you have this beautiful newsletter and it's got 30% of its pictures. When I open your email, all I see is text and a bunch of empty boxes with question marks, because by default, Outlook is not going to download those graphics.
Right.
And so you want to be conscientious. And the reason why I talk specifically about a newsletter is because that's where you're going to focus on beautiful pictures and beautiful artwork and things like that. If you're sending a marketing newsletter, 90% of our clients now don't even put a logo in there because there's no benefit to it if the person's not downloading it. So the more you have it as just a text content document, the more it looks like and feels like a personal email that you sat down and wrote for them. So
Because people see the automatic stuff and then they're like, ugh, put it away.
It's a commercial, yeah.
Yep. So I've created this train wreck of a newsletter template. It's awesome. I'm so excited about it. Now I'm going to click on my next button. Oh, in the action section, sorry, let me go back one. Actions is where we're going to be able to save it as a template. So if you want to go back and reuse this template over and over again, because you just love the colors purple and orange and green next to each other, then save that thing as a template. And then you have that to go back to over and over again. And then I'm going to click on the next button. And this is where we get to choose our audience, and we can create our subject line. An email's not going to send unless you have a subject line in there. And then we also can control what the person sees in their inbox as a preview. So if you look at your phone as a really good example, because it's really obvious there, you'll see a subject line and you can oftentimes see what looks like the beginning of that email. That's actually preview text. So if you don't want the first couple of sentences of your email to actually be the thing that shows up in, because basically it's like a subject line, second chance. So you get it to custom tailor that preview text to be specifically what you want them to see. And then you can schedule your email into the future. You can schedule it right now. Either way, it won't work unless you have an audience and you've got a subject line in there. So once you do that, you can click on your send button and then you can also send a test message to yourself, which I always recommend because it's always good to make sure your links work, that it looks the way that you want it to.
We spend another minute just on the two lists, tags.
So your list is going to be, so let's say, for example, you are using the widget, your new leads or the people that have just entered your system in the last 30 days. So there's already some pre-built saved searches, but you can also search by tags or search by another filter or something along those lines. So you get to pick the segmented group of people that you want to send this to. So they really do kind of push you towards making sure your emails are designed for a specific group of people, not just willy-nilly blind emailing everybody and hoping for the best. So,
Right, because I'm not gonna want to send.
Yeah.
Certain emails to my kids.
Yep. Yep.
I only want to send them appointment reminders, but the parents, I want to.
exactly.
Right.
Okay, so that is the broadcast tool. It is also the landing page builder. So Keep has a landing page builder that is almost identical to the email builder. So Lamar, this is for you. So I heard you say you have a Wix website. Is that right?
Yeah, but it's for something, it's not for the-
Okay, so you can build a single page landing page and use that as your site until you decide you want to do something different. Just know that your functionality is what you have in here. So you may have more freedom and more flexibility with another tool, like an actual WordPress site, or a Wix site or something along those lines. But you can build a single page site and anchor even to like, create a menu that says, I want to go to the about section, and you click on the about and it scrolls to another part of the page. Have you ever been on a website that does that? So we can do the same kind of thing on a landing page. So you kind of sort of create that illusion without having to have a fully hosted WordPress or Wix site. It saves you money, saves you time.
And then once I get a website, I can change it over.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. And we help clients with that all the time. So then the last part that I want to show you over here in comms is the text messaging. So we talked about how when we use the example of the calendar as a place where you can automate text messages. So just like you can automate scheduling an email broadcast, you can also automate the process of sending a text message. So you have a Plexus last minute flash sale and you just want to get it out. So text message works. Like it's got a 90% open rate in less than 3 minutes. It's the wild, wild west right now. I got at least 3 text messages this past week about promising to help me shed pounds overnight. Didn't ask for it. Don't know how they got my number. Probably could use it, but still you spam me. So, but these people are on your list. And again, they're going to be asked to opt in, but it works. So it's really great for instant messages. It's great for those reminder text messages in automation, all those things. What you got? It might be because you're in I think it's because of the trial. So when you have a paid version, yeah, but this is the 800 number. So you get a second line and you don't really even get to pick it. So you get an 800 number and that's what you send from, and that's actually a good point to mention. So you get a 2-way conversation with your local business number. That's free. You pay for that in your app. When you're using this 800 number, it's a one-directional phone text message. So you send a message that says flash sale, 50% off my entire inventory. They come back to you and say they want to buy. There's going to be an automatic reply to them that says that this number doesn't receive responses. And you could customize the response to say, call this number or whatever it is that you want them to do, just in case somebody responds. But you have that ability to sort of tell them, how to handle it if they do try to respond to that phone number. Any questions about text messages? Okay. Alrighty. So it's 12:45. So I want to cover sales for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to see if I can get in touch with somebody at Keep to help me with the automations. If not, I'm going to try and I'm not really sure what I'll do. I'll figure it out, but I'll need a break to be able to make that happen. Okay, so under the sales section, there's a couple of things. So starting with the pipeline, this isn't one of those things that's an unsung hero that I don't spend enough time with most clients talking about, but I think it's an incredibly powerful tool. How many people have ever heard of Trello?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Okay, so people like it for managing projects and managing tasks. It's great for also following your sales pipeline. So we talked about in the very beginning, everybody has a customer journey, whether you intend to have one or not. Your pipeline is your customer journey. And so if we click on that, set up a pipeline, it's going to give you the option, 2 choices. You can create a sales pipeline, you can create a project pipeline. Project.
I also have a custom pipeline.
Yeah, you can do the, it's down there below. You can also start from scratch. They all do the same thing. At the end of the day, the difference between the 3 is it's going to give you a couple of labels to get your creative juices flowing. So if you said, I'm going to pick a project type pipeline, it might come up with things like your to-do list, like urgent, in progress, completed. And then your sales pipeline is going to be cold lead, new lead, hot lead, negotiating, won, closed, lost, those kinds of things. And so I'm going to choose on my sales pipeline. And here are by default the names that they've given me. So they've given me 5 stages in my pipeline. I can call this whatever I want. Christie's super sales pipeline, because some people have multiple sales pipelines for different kinds of products. So if, for example, you have a very low cost, easy in, easy out, the pipeline, the customer journey is really short, and maybe then the next stage up is much more expensive and the journey is much longer. Maybe there's negotiating involved. So you can set up different pipelines for different scenarios. I'm going to create Christie's super pipeline. I can change the names of these stages, and I can also get rid of them. So if I have a 4-stage pipeline, or if I have a 6-stage pipeline, I can also add ones, and then I can call them whatever I want. So now that I'm going to call it Christie's Super Sales Pipeline. I'm going to leave the stages as they are. Then I'm going to click Save. And now what I have is a place to keep track of all of the different things that are happening in my business. So that way I'm never at any point in time not sure who's where and who I need to focus my efforts on. Because we want to focus on the people that are bubbling to the top, the people that are engaging with our content, the people that are close to closing. So I'm going to stick with my original buckets and I'm going to say, I want to add a deal. So I'm going to say Lamar is my new deal. And I can call it something. I don't have to call it anything. Lamar's new deal website. I can choose to put a value in this if you really wanted to go down that road. Totally up to you. Don't have to. But now Lamar is in my pipeline and he's in my first stage. But as I'm getting to know Lamar and I had an initial conversation with him, let's say, for example, I have a qualifier and you have to meet my qualifier. You have to have content created for your website. And if you don't, then you're not qualified yet to be in my next stage. So, but we have our consultation and miracle of miracles, you have your content, which for the record never happens. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, awesome. So we've completed that call. I'm going to move Lamar from the new leads to the qualified leads.
Oh, that's cute.
So now I'm able to keep track of who is where. So this is a manual process. So as much as we talk about automating stuff, the process of moving people from one stage of your pipeline to the next has to be manual. And the reason being is that at no point in time should you ever get out of the habit of using this as a resource. So it forces you to come back in here and look. It forces you to pay attention to who is in your pipeline at what stage. But if you take a look down below, so we've talked about the add a deal. That's where we found Lamar. We also have something where we can automate the stage. So just like we created automation around our calendar, we can create automation for what happens when Lamar moves into the qualified stage or when Lamar moves out of that qualified stage. And some of that could be how I'm communicating with Lamar. Okay, now that Lamar is qualified, that kind of indicates that we successfully completed a consultation call and he's qualified. So now I want to automate the process that when Lamar enters my qualified lead stage, I want to send him an email and I'm going to say, here's your quote. And here's your quote. Let's say that's my automation. And I'm going to send that as soon as Lamar is moved into the qualified stage. So my scenario here, he was a new lead. We had a consultation. He was qualified. I moved him over into the next stage. I'm going to send this email immediately. And now I'm going to say next. And I'm going to say publish. And now I have my next automation already turned on.
But you can add, if you guys saw that plus button, so you can send Lamar an email and then you can also send you a notification saying, hey, Lamar moved this or Lamar, you sent a quote. So it also lets you know.
So especially if I hire down the road and as I add people into the system and they're keeping track of their own thing,
Mm-hmm.
especially since I'm talking about 1099 tutors, they're running their own schedules,
Mm-hmm.
then I could see essentially what they're doing.
Yep. And the other thing that you can do is I can create a task notification to follow up with Lamar. If after 5 days, he hasn't accepted my quote, I can say, okay, so at 5 days, I get a tickle that says, call Lamar.
Yeah.
So, and the only way that that's going to happen is if Lamar stays in my qualified lead stage. Okay, so I didn't pay attention to my buckets. So let's say he was in the quote sent, let's pretend all those things is right there. Okay, and so he has not accepted my quote. He hasn't said the accept button. So I get a notification to call Lamar. So I'm going to call you because the system told me to do it. But if I moved you out of the quote sent to the negotiating, I'm not going to get that tickle because you've done what you were supposed to do. So that's kind of how a pipeline can work. So a project pipeline can be the same thing. So go ahead.
Quick before you go on to projects. For the salesman, let's say I have a new product that I want to sell and Lamar's my first customer. And so I create this pipeline for Lamar. can I duplicate that pipeline when I get another customer, or do I create the whole thing again?
Well, your pipeline is the same. Each deal is for each customer.
Okay, so if the pipeline is the formula.
Yep.
And then the deal is the customer. So when I add the deal, it's going in that pipeline.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the pipeline because you do have to manually move people. But what I do like using it for is you're about to reach out to a bunch of people and you're going to get a bunch of responses. So new leads. And then you can keep up with, each event that you do or each broadcast that you do. You can keep up with your customers. And then once they are customers, then you move them out of this pipeline and you put your new leads in there. But what I really like to use it for, and Christy didn't do it, but when you put your money in there, you can tell, you can look at it at a glance and tell, okay, so this is money that I'm probably not going to get for like 6 months, but I need to pay my bills now. So you can keep up with your money flow as well. So you need to make sure that you have money in each stage and you can see where your money is flowing. So these guys, you're not gonna get the money for like, let's say like 6 months or whenever the event is or whatever. And these guys are getting ready to pay now, but then you don't have anybody in the middle. What are you gonna do for income those 5 months?
That makes sense.
So that's the main reason I use the pipeline. I don't use it for the way probably he wants to use it. But that's the good thing about it is it does so many different things. You can use it for whatever purpose you want. You can use it to keep up with the customer journey. You can use it to keep up with your money. You can.
Do you have more than one pipeline at a time?
Yes.
So are they like, if I was to make another one right now, it'd be right underneath both?
This is kind of like what I think we talked about it, and I didn't think I mentioned it to you, Chrissy, like when I was going through the gauntlet, we had this opportunity to meet with this like 90-year-old man who has like sales of this manufacturing thing he has like all over the world, and he still has to this day this cork board on his wall and index cards, and he basically does pipelines, moving the like, oh, I got a new contact, pins their business card onto his cork board. Then when he gets them to fight, he moves it over to lead, and he physically does this. This is the taking that 150-year business model of sales and putting it onto your digital whiteboard, basically, to move your contact along.
And so while you can't automate the progress of moving somebody from one stage to another, you can automate the process of adding a person to a stage of your deal. So like I can automate adding a deal. When I have a new lead, I can automatically add them to my new leads. And therefore I can send myself a notification, hey, you have a new lead. And now once I have my consultation scheduled, once they successfully complete that, now I'm moving them. And the thing is when we started earlier on about talking about at no point in time should automation remove you from your business. The purpose of all of this is to give you the time and the freedom to have personal relationships with your people. So at no point in time, I mean, yes, you could have volume where people are buying lots of individual products. And for that, a pipeline may not be great. But for like Plexus, I think you create like sales partners, right? So that would be your pipeline. So how are you creating relationships with other people that are selling? Because those are the people that you really need to be having that personal like pulse on what's going on in that. So that's how a pipeline is beneficial and valuable and also can still be a little bit automated.
And you don't have to start at new leads. Like,
Yeah.
let's say you had a conversation with someone and you send them a quote, like they can go right into the quote.
So is that automated when you have them, like say you have in your contacts, if you change the tag on there, like does it go, it's like sort of a tag that's the same as new leads? Does it go straight to new leads on the pipeline, or I have to put them in there?
If
Each one.
you automate that, yes. But the part that I caution is that, let's say, for example, you put them in the new lead and then you change their tag to quote sent, and your automation is to create a new deal in quote sent. Now that contact is in new leads and in quote sent.
So it won't delete it from that.
Right.
Change it, delete your lead.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So just something to sort of be aware of. So like, again, if you are not doing like thousands of people's volume all the time, you can see, oh yeah, look at that, Lamar's in both places because my automation did this thing for me. Let me just go delete that other deal. So it's not like it's the end of the world. It just means that you do have to pay attention
Yeah,
to
it's
those
fine.
pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, and like automating there, and then you have to keep up with what automations are running here, and you put them into like a campaign. You run automations there too, so just be aware, if you automate stuff here, and then you add it to a campaign, then they
Then it
can
may
get
get
into
double.
it, or-
Yeah, we don't-
So just pick one that you like and just go with that. Like, she loves the campaigns. That's the way her mind works. That's the way she started doing it, so. But you're starting brand new, so just find which flow works for you.
Well, I like this one because I honestly I have a corporate at home. I don't do exactly the same thing, but I have everybody's name I need to contact and remember. Maybe have some of those.
So yeah, this
There you
would
go.
work- This would work the way that you think is doing it comfortable.
Okay, so I want to talk just for a couple minutes about money, and then we'll take a break. And fingers crossed. So I'm hearing from my contact at Keep. They're trying to get the automations into your apps. And if not, then I have a backdoor way that we can make that possible. Okay, so did we integrate payment stuff? Did I give that in your homework? I can't remember.
You know, we told them to bring their baby.
Okay, so you can use, and so for you, this isn't going to be great because you have to use the Plexus system. But for you guys, it would be something that could potentially be the way that you sell your products and services. So as an example, right now, almost 100% of our business runs through Keep. I didn't start using it until until recently because I had been on an old version of Keep, which is a whole different story. But long story short, you can send it, like I said, send quotes, convert those quotes to invoices, and then send from the invoices, have those become, a paid receipt. So the other option that you have is to have productized checkout forms. So for example, it costs, let's say for example, it costs $100 to buy a website from Confluence Business Solutions. I can create a checkout form with Keep that says it's $100. We're not negotiating price. We're not sending quotes. We're not sending invoices. It's literally a checkout form. So I can create a landing page, or I can build a page on my website and say, buy my website today, buy now, click the button, and that button's going to give you a checkout form where they enter their name and their credit card information, bada bing, bada boom, it's done. And from there, I can then automate the follow-up. When someone makes a purchase, send them my Google review 3 days later, or however many days later. So that's what your products so for some businesses, a quote and an invoice may be the best route. For others, like it still may be for you, easier for you to have order forms, or I'm sorry, checkout forms. So checkout forms are going to be that, like, it's not changing. So, and a checkout form can also be a la carte. So again, using Confluence as an example, we sell websites. So we do design and development for websites. We also sell implementation services. So we do this, not the training, but we implement. For some people, we're helping them with a project. They've got a launch, they're doing this thing, and we're going to do a 10-hour block with them, and so on and so forth. Other clients, we are their marketing team, and we're doing a couple of hours a week for them every single month, and it's just on a recurring basis. And then some people are a website and one of those other things. And so I have a checkout form for every single one of those.
So can you use the checkout form as part of your pipeline? Because one of the things I do is a free consultation,
Mm-hmm.
and then they book, and then they check out and buy the.
Yeah, so your stage would be maybe
Probably 3 stages.
requested consultation, completed consultation,
Right.
closed.
Right.
And I would have a lost as well, so that way you're able to keep track of the people who said no, or the people who just disengaged because,
Ghosted, and,
yeah, yep,
they got pulled up by aliens.
yeah.
Right.
That's right. That's what a lot of people are.
So here's the catch with quotes, invoices, and products and checkout forms, is that in order for any of it to work, you have to set up your merchant gateway. And I think just out of to try to preserve our time, because we haven't gotten to the best part yet, is I want to actually save that, and we can do that maybe afterwards if you want to stay late because it's applicable, or we can do it on a follow-up call. But you have to set up the merchant gateway. It takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to do it, but you can't save a product until there's a way, because they don't want to collect your money and then have a way to get it into your bank account. And that's the whole purpose of the merchant gateway, is like, tell us where to put your money.
Takes like 3 days too, right? So if they change it.
No, WePay and Stripe are both like 5 minutes or less. Yeah. So if that's something that you guys want to do a deeper dive into, we could totally do that. But just like the calendar, it looks really pretty. So as a simple, let me see if I can show you mine. So the other thing that you can do with checkout forms is you can have them be like multi-pay. So if, for example, you have something that people break down into multiple payments, you can do that as well. So just like your calendar, you have a code that you can embed somewhere. So if you had a page that you just wanted to have the form as a part of the page, you can do that. You get a link. And then the links look really simple. And this is for a product I don't use anymore. But just as an example, it's simple, sweet, to the point. I don't even put my logo on here, but you can. I don't put my logo because I embed this on a page. But I can customize the information that I'm capturing on here. I'm collecting their information. Once the money goes into our bank account, once that sale is made, I get a notification on my phone. I get a notification in my email. I get a notification in my Keep app. They want to make sure that I know an appointment has been made. Somebody has bought something, like all those things that are sort of important as a part of your business. So you're not left out in the dark. Any questions or thoughts or comments about any of those parts that we just kind of brushed over? Nope. Okay.
Yeah, but I want to keep going.
Okay. So let's take a break. Let's do 20 minutes. Does that sound good? 30 minutes? Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so we've covered contacts, we've covered My Day, we've covered comms, covered sales. Marketing is our forms, which also, if we have a couple minutes afterwards, we can talk about those as well. Landing pages, just like the email builder. And then we click on automations. This is not the right app. But it will work. No, let's get the other one. Yeah, that is the right one. Sorry. Okay, so you should see, so what you should see is you'll have a link for easy and a link for advanced. So let's go ahead and click on easy first. And you should have at least one easy automation listed because we created it when we did your calendar, right? Okay, so the way they separate automations is think about it like a straight line. So if you have like somebody books an appointment and they get this phone number or this text message and this email and this text message and this email, and then they're done, bada bing, bada boom, like there's nothing magical happening. It's a straight line. So other people call them drip series, like that would be an easy automation. You can also look on the left-hand side, the right-hand side. I knew it was going to happen because I'm really bad with the left and the right. You see these little tiles here, and you can see some of them say easy, some of them say advanced. Well, only one of them in this case does. So basically, it's going to give you a couple of things that you can also add to your easy automations to just get you started and get you like inspired. So I want to automate the process of sending somebody a birthday greeting, or I want to create an easy automation for what happens to follow up with a deal. Those are things that are already set up. Okay. But advanced automation, I call Pinky and the Brain takes over the world, because this is where you can do really cool stuff based on how people are interacting or based on the journey that they take. So it is kind of a choose your own adventure. And so the two campaigns that I was supposed to give you. One of them was called the free consultation and strategy session. And the other one is a reconnection campaign. And so they serve the same function at the end, and that is to get somebody to schedule a call with you. But the difference is the first one, free consultation strategy call, is you go to a networking event, you meet 5 people, and you want to send them through that sequence that says, I want them to be invited to schedule a call. The reconnection is for those 60 business cards that you've had sitting on your desk for 6 months and you're like feeling guilty because you told them that you would follow up, but you never did and you totally dropped the ball. Or perhaps a group of people that you just haven't connected with in a while and you want to try to restart the conversation. So my caveat to all of this is this stuff works. So be prepared. It works. So as an example, I have a new product that I launched. Well, actually, I guess it launched 2 days ago officially, but it's been sort of like in a soft launch for a little while. And I've got this young lady who launched these 2 campaigns, and within like a few hours, she had gotten more than 10 calls booked on her calendar. And she wasn't really like ready for it. She was like super excited. And she's like, oh my God, they're coming. So
If you build it, they will come.
yes.
Krista, did you know we launched today? This is on Facebook that we launched.
Ironically, the one who said, oh my God, they're coming is also the one that launched my product for me. So, anyways, this stuff, like it really does work. So the point of that being that when you give people a way to communicate with you, when you make it easy for them, they will do it. That's the key. Make it easy.
So one of the things that I'm finding, because once again, I work with ADHDers, so they're not like a one and done type person. You have to constantly keep reminding them of things.
Yep.
And they kind of look at these things and they go, oh wait, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, you just click it and book. And it's
Yeah. So your emails might have a couple of call to actions that are always the same.
right.
You are a great candidate for like simplified marketing. So we spend a lot of time trying to narrow the focus for our clients. They want to send an email with 5 different call to actions. And at the end of the day, you don't have to be ADD. It's too much. And when
Right.
people are confused, they just check out. They don't do anything. So the general rule is 1 call to action. And in our campaign, in our automation, it's 1 call to action, schedule a consult. I may give you that link 3 different times in this email, but it's the same link every single time. Yep.
And that's kind of what my folks need, is they need something that's just one
Yep.
thing to focus on.
Yeah. So
They are
cater
like
to
that.
those needs.
Yeah.
Still recording? I think so. Yep.
I see too much maybe I'll-
Okay, so let's talk about, so you saw what easy automation looks like when you were building it. So in real time, you realize that you want to personalize, something has come up, you've learned the hard way, or you've learned just proactively. I want to make an edit. So I'm going to come here to easy automation. And for most of the things, we've seen consistency. We give these these bubbles that tell us where we are in our journey. So our 3 dots are where we're going to find menus. So in this case, we want to edit our easy automation for what we created. So my simple automation right now is when someone books that particular call, and I'm not sure how this one ended up. Maybe I clicked the wrong one. Oh, I did. Okay, so then let's change them. I want to change my story. Sorry. So this is my pipeline, but the same thing is applicable for your call. When somebody enters a particular stage, then I'm going to send an email. When someone books a particular appointment, I'm going to send them this email, this text message, this email, this text message, as many times as you need to do until it's done, until it's completed. That's my easy automation. See how it's nice, clean, and in a straight line. Advanced automation is, like I said, it's more complicated. I got my 3 dots. I'm going to click on my edit button. And the format looks completely different. And so the rules and the name of the game, and it's actually the same for easy automation, is goals. And goals push the people into automation. They pull people out of automation. So it's a push-pull relationship, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay. So when you do get this campaign, when you do get this automation, it's going to give you instructions. It's going to tell you what you need to do. It's going to tell you how to set it up. So that way for a first timer, you have some guidance, but we're going to go through it right now as well. And so what's happening in here is the goal that's pushing them in is a tag. What are tags?
Thing that, it's like a name, it's something like a name tag for the person.
Yep.
You just like tell them like, okay, they're I don't know, yes, it's a name tag.
Yeah. Your tag is prospect, or your tag is customer, or your tag is parent, your tag is youth, your tag is practitioner or community member, or those kinds of things. In this case, our tag is going to be all the people that we want to be invited to schedule a consultation with us. So our tag, if I double click on this little green guy right here, it's going to let me open it up and it's going to see what the tag is. So I get to tell it what tag achieves the goal that's going to start my automation. So the goal is when this tag, invite to a free consultation, when that tag is applied, we're going to start our automation. And when you get the campaign, when you get this automation, that tag will automatically be added to your app. So all you have to do is open it and save it, and it will be stored and you'll be done. So step one, done, easy. Now we have set this goal, tag, send to this campaign. So the other thing I will say is this is our 30,000 foot view. This is like way up here in the sky. It's where the planes fly, right? So we've got our goal that's going to start it. And then we've got some goals that are going to finish it right over here on the right side. We've got our appointment. So what is it that we want them to do again?
Like the end goal.
Yeah, what are we asking them to do in this automation?
Okay, so let's say both like the end goal, like the very final end goal, or like a middle goal.
What's the goal that we're inviting them to do here? Our one call to action is what? Book a call. So our goal is our appointment. So see how it looks like a little calendar, and this one looks like a little tag. So we've got all these different goals over here, and to try to be productive with our time, we're going to say our automation goal. If I double click on this bad boy, then I'm saying this goal is achieved when someone schedules this appointment. So if you have 5 different appointment tiles, you know, a 30-minute, a 60-minute, in person, a Zoom, you know, so on and so forth, then you have to choose which particular appointment achieves the goal. Because if you tell them here that it's my free 30-minute in-person appointment, and then the goal in the emails is my in-person Zoom appointment, it's not going to achieve the goal. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm going to tell it which appointment to do, and now I'm going to save it. So remember, 30,000 foot view, goal to start, goal to end. I also have a goal to end that's a tag. So if for some reason I end up having a random willy-nilly you know, like organically somebody shows up at the Wellnest and you're like, okay, well, we just had our consult. I'm just going to go apply that tag. So that way they don't have to keep getting their emails. Because the nice thing is that even though this says that it's 3 emails, I think it's 5, because somewhere along the way I got excited. And so if they have 5 emails coming to them over the course of 2 weeks, but they book a call on that first email, do you want them to get the other 4 emails? Absolutely not. Because that's what automation is for. It's actually to like, hey, you did what I wanted you to do. Awesome. I'm going to stop harassing you. So when that appointment is done, what this means is that we've taken them out of the sequence. This is our sequence. The rectangle is our sequence. So a tag puts them into the sequence. They get 5 emails. A tag or an appointment goal takes them out. So there's 2 different ways that right now they can get removed from this sequence. I can manually apply the tag, or they could book a call. Does that make sense? Okay. So now we're going to go down to the 3,000 foot view. So if this is 30,000 is our sky or our forest, this is our trees. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you can see that I've got a whole bunch of things happening in here. So big picture, tags, sequence. Inside the sequence, I'm delivering all my brilliant content. I'm going to give them their first invitation to book a call. When you have a paid app, you can send a text message that says, hey, it was so great seeing you. Let's get on a call. Here's my link. I'm going to send another email the next day. And this is right now set up with a hard, like it's pushing, it's pushy. It's saying to every day, every single day, I'm going to touch them. I'm going to make sure, because right now it's fresh in their mind. I just had that conversation. If that doesn't work with your cycle, if that doesn't work with the way you interact with people, you can change this. All I have to do is double click on this timer and I can change the settings. So I can adjust it. So if I would prefer to have it be 2 days from now, I can change it to days, weeks, months, years. I would recommend more frequent follow-up than the years. Okay. So I just showed you can double click on the sequence. That takes you in here. I can double click on the timer. It changes the timer, or it allows me to change the settings. I'm going to double click on this email right here. And now I'm able to edit the email. And so what I gave you in this automation, when you get it, is 5 emails with copy. So you have subject line, preview text, and email content so that there is absolutely no excuse for why you can't get this automation started before you go to bed today. So when you get home and you get this campaign, you do have to go in and look and open every single one of these emails, because your business is very different than your business is very different than your business is very different than my business. But guess what? We can all use the same campaign. So, and I'm sorry if I say campaign and automation interchangeably, they are the same thing to me. Keep has started using automation as the terminology, but it's always been a campaign for the last like 20 years. And so in here, so this is the other email tool. There's 2 different versions. I find this to be a little bit faster. And when I created this campaign to share with others, the other email tool didn't exist. It's really easy to use. To come in here, you click on the button, your cursor's in here, you edit just like you normally would. This is a placeholder for a logo. If you don't want it, you can delete it. Just click on it and you see you got a little trash can up here. It's even going to ask me to confirm if I want to delete that. I'm not going to. And I can also copy it. So if I wanted to, use that little image over and over again, I can do that as well. But what you'll see how this is in bold. So I can't do that part for you. I can't say this is where I met you. So that meeting location might be a custom field that's, applicable to your business. It could just be that it was great meeting you, period. And you delete the rest because you want it to be more generic. What you do in your business, like that's going to help somebody make that connection. Okay, I can't remember. I know I remember meeting Lamar, but okay, what was it that he did? I met like 30 people that day. You know what I mean? So adding that extra information helps them fill in the blanks, because again, we don't want them to burn excess calories trying to process and doing the work themselves. We want to do the work for them. And then our last thing over here is our achievable outcomes. So what is it that you want to talk about with them? So giving them a little bit more information so that they understand what the agenda is, even if it's just, I just want to have a chat, let them know. And then we have 2 different choices for how they can schedule that call with you. They've got a link right here, and then they have this nice pretty button. So the link, if I click and highlight this, just like any other page builder, you've got your little editor up here. I've got my little chain. I can change my chain. Oh, and I did forget to grab my calendar link. So the other thing that I like to do, and she and I are very different in this way, is I have multiple tabs open, so that on one tab, and I shared this with Val, on one tab, I might have my calendar link accessible or my product link accessible. And my other tab, I'm building automation. I'm creating an email, but I don't want to have to be exiting the campaign to go get that link, because I'm all about saving time and reducing clicks. And I have ADD. So I can have my brain in 6 different buckets all at the same time. And it is just brilliant chaos. So back here, it is brilliant chaos. So my other tab, I'm going to my calendar. I'm going to say, here's my strategy call. I'm going to copy that link. See, I went to the 3 dots again. And now I'm back over into my automation. You will have to do this because your calendar link is not going to be accessible to me a year ago. So when I made this first time. So I click on my link, my hyperlink. I take my chain up here, and then I copy and paste my link right into the URL here. And then the same thing in the button. So I'm going to put my calendar link in the URL over here. So if I click on the button, then all of the stuff that's over here in my editor is related to whatever is selected. So right now I'm in the button. So these are all settings related to the button. If I'm clicking in here, then I'm in settings related to the text, which there isn't any. So it's going to give me my blocks that I can click and drag. So if, for example, your brand is black and white, your colors are very clean and crisp, black and white. So the blue is poppy and obnoxious and distracting. I can click on my button, same place where I add my URL. I can come down here. I can change the color of my button so that my button is black and white, so it matches my brand. So we're all about trying to get it as close to what you consistently put out there into the universe as already. Same thing with your fonts. So if I click on my text here and I'm over in my design column, you can change the fonts that you're using. I prefer a 16 point or larger because it's ADA accessible. So that's kind of how you edit these emails. So each one of these emails is editable. Each one of these emails has a place for you to go in and add your personal touch. It shouldn't have to take you, it can if you really want to. It could take you 15 minutes to go in and add your personal touch, throw your logo in there or delete that image placeholder and then turn it on. It could literally be that quickly. It's totally up to you how in-depth you want that to be. But the goal of creating all the content for you is to make it so that is not a barrier for growth. So we launched this new product this week called Business Automation in a Box. And it is the entire lifecycle marketing with content completed for you. Lead capture, how you convert those leads, how you close a sale, how you ask for testimonials, how you survey, how you get referrals, all this kind of stuff. And the reason why we did it was because the number one barrier for us to be successful, for our clients to be successful, was copy. Over and over and over again. They just didn't have time to make the copy. They have writer's block, whatever it was. So we started doing it for people. So that's what the inspiration is here. So this is a good taste of what that looks like, but also it's a great place for you to get started. So if you have that, like I just want to write and, and this isn't your voice, go make it your own voice. Do what you got to do. But in each one of these, it's going to have that call to action. And remember, one call to action, same call to action, always the same call to action. And it has to match the goal that is to be achieved on the other side. So we edit all of our emails. Oh, and then you see how the text message is gray?
Yeah.
That's because you're in a trial, and until you convert to a paid app, the text message is not available to you. But once you have a paid app, you can come in here and create your own text messages, and you can add those to your automation. So I back up to the 30,000 foot view. So we've got our forest. Our trees are where all the emails and text messages live. All the little leaves, all the email messaging or the text messaging. So now I'm back up here. See how this is bright green and this is striped green?
Yeah.
Okay, so striped green means that there have been changes made here that have not been published. And if you push people in here and you've made a bunch of changes, if they have not been published, whatever it was up to the last time it was published, that's what they're going to get. So publish, publish, publish. And they like to make it really obvious that, hey, there have been changes. So if I've made changes and I'm ready for this to go, I assigned my calendar as a good example. So that's why that's green and striped. I'm going to come up here to publish. And it's going to run this inspection. And so it's going to give me this list of things that may not be right. And if it says passes functional inspection, I'm allowed to publish and proceed. But what it's prompting me to do is proceed with caution. So proceed with knowing that there are a couple of elements not marked as ready. I know what those elements are. Those are going to be my text messages because they're not turned on. I know that my emails are not personalized because I left them particularly, like specifically vague on purpose. And somewhere there's a merge field error, I think because there was something that I used in an old thing that is gone. So irrelevant. I will also say that 90% of the time I get these things because sometimes there's maybe an email you created, you're not ready to delete it, but you disconnected it. So it's not going to go out, but it's just kind of hanging out there, whatever. So as long as you know what's going on, it's totally fine. So I'm going to say publish. And now I'm into what we call the reporting page. And so I'm able to track and monitor how my contacts are performing in this particular sequence. So if I'm looking at over the period of, let's say 30 days, and I've got 30 people in here, but they didn't all start at the same time. Let's say, for example, like I'm putting them in there over the course of a week because I've gone to 5 different networking events and I'm introducing people. I can see where people are in my cycle. I can also see where my leads might be falling off. So what email is not performing? What emails are we seeing people clicking versus unsubscribing? Okay, so that one clearly has a problem. I'm going to edit that email so that I can adjust it to make it more impactful, more meaningful, whatever. So when you're doing something like this here is really clear, really specific. So one of the campaigns that we have is a long-term nurture. It spans upwards of 90 days. It's got, I think, 15 or 20 different emails in it. And they're very different topics. We're talking about answering objections. We're talking case studies. We're talking testimonials. We've got FAQs in there. And so if I want to know where people are disengaging, all I have to do is look at the reporting metrics of a really long campaign and be able to see what that looks like. So that's how those reports can be really helpful. And then if I go back and I click on this toggle up here, so here's my reporting page. I can click on the toggle and I move from reporting to editing. I'm back to the original where I can then click on these things and take action on them. So all of the things are now bright green again. There's no stripes, which means that no changes have been made since the last time it was published. Any thoughts, questions on the world's fastest teaching on automation? So in terms of pricing, and I wanted to show you this thing, but it's way too small, and I'm really sorry about that. So in order to convert your free trial to a paid subscription, so you are in one of 3 versions of Keep. So there's a Keep Lite, a Keep Pro, and a Keep Max. And Keep Lite is going to be most of the things that you've experienced with a few things taken away. So advanced automations. So the place where we have the consultation, if you were to automate, like sending somebody a birthday greeting, like year after year after year, those things are in advanced automation. Those things are not available. If you wanted to sell a product as like a single pay, you can do that with Lite. You can't do like multi-pay subscription, things like that. But the goal is to really make it so that it's attainable and feasible for somebody who's just getting started and where their budget is a concern. Keep Pro is the one that you're demoing, and it is $129 a month, regularly priced by me. If you go to the website right now, it'll tell you it's $169. So I've also not been super proactive with people like beforehand, and then they've gone and bought it. So now I'm like on a mission. Do not buy it from the website. They make it really easy for people to want to work with us by giving us a better price. So $129 is the base, and that's for 2,500 contacts and 2 users. And then I have a special offer that I can give you through the end of March for 50% off for the first 6 months. So between now and the end of September, you would pay $64.50. And then after that, it would go up to the $129. And the thing that I really like about that is, and I wish that they would do it every month, is it gives you 6 months to figure out how to make the app pay for itself. Because if you're not automating and able to then use it for scaling, then I can appreciate why it would be hard to justify the expense. It also might mean that you need more time, but I also want to be totally transparent that we're committed to helping make that happen for you. And that leads us to next steps with us. So people who, anybody who wants to sign up for Keep, and then the Keep Max, I forgot to mention, is $199 a month. It's for 5,000 records and either 3 or 5 users. And the difference between Keep Pro and Keep Max is coupon codes and promo codes and more advanced reporting, which as of right now, I've found that the reporting in Pro is fine, but I chose to upgrade our app to Max this past go around because I actually wanted to offer a product or promo on my new product. So that's why it was a selling point for me. So if that's something that you do in your business, it might be a benefit. And then anybody who chooses to convert their app from a free trial to a paid app will also get a 1-hour strategy session with us, and we will get down and dirty in your business. So we'll spend that hour with you focusing on how you can use other forms of automation to specifically address the things that you're working on in your business. And then my last thing that I wanted to share is the way that people work with us is, so I mentioned like we actually started not in all of this world, but really just helping existing Keep users. So we had a lot of clients that were in over their head, had grown to a point where they just couldn't market by themselves anymore. And so our job was to come in and clean up their apps. We've got a client, poor Annika, she spends a lot of her time with her. She's a very larger than life personality, but she's been using Keep for upwards of 12 years. And so she's got thousands of tags and thousands of emails and thousands of everything. And so at a point, it becomes really hard to manage all that stuff by yourself. And so with growth, sometimes having.
Yeah, because they're doing all, they're like just infamously just going out there and putting all the stuff there.
Yeah, well, and different.
Haven't really sent it back and go, I should trip.
Yeah, different users have different
She's
philosophies.
like, hey, you remember that thing?
Yeah.
I'd like to do that again.
Yeah. The spirit of the entrepreneur. So anyway, so we're not going to sell you a Keep app and then cut you loose and say, yeah, good luck and never talk to you again. So we have you could business automation in a box could be one, if you're a DIYer and a bootstrapper, if you want somebody that's going to teach you and train you, or if you want somebody to just do it for you, offer those services as well. So it's not just giving you the tool and then saying, figure it out. It's giving you the tool. It's going to help you with lifecycle marketing and also help you figure out how to use it so that you can grow your business.
Now, I don't need to use her, and Light almost sounds great, but
It's, you know, the thing is, like, I've toyed with, like, do I push people to do a trial with the light? But the reality is that if you're gonna do it, like, I would really encourage people to go down that road of Pro because of the automation power. Because you
Now, the
can't
way
really
that
do
it's
as much with.
charged, is it charged all up front or
Bye,
by-
Val.
Bye.
Hi, guys.
Good luck.
Keep you updated.
Okay. So it's monthly and there's no contract. So you can sign on for month to month. The offering is actually different if you pay for the year. So, and so it's a 25% discount if you paid for the full year upfront. It's actually not a savings to do it that way. However, it is a 25% discount year after year. So if you stayed on for the long haul, then yes, you will save money. It's just you're
Right,
not going to
for
save it in the
initial
first year.
one, Do the 6 months, half, yeah.
It is also the reason why they will not be making this offer again. So, because somewhere along the way, somebody did the math and realized that that was actually bad math. So.